on my end
Okay.
because everyone was saying it was down.
Yeah, it's because it was.
Well, um, well,
All
it's
right.
loud for me now. Okay. With the restart, it looks like it's live. Can you all hear us? All right. Hi everyone. Hi everyone at the board as well. Man of interests over here. Joined by Brian, aka Quakeums, and we have the wonderful two members of the board, Don and Kevin, doing a wonderful collab with us. They're streaming over on YouTube. Check that out as well if you get a chance. We are streaming over here on Twitch. Merry
Got all our
Christmas.
bases covered. Merry Christmas.
Roll the intro, Huey.
Roll the intro. Intro rolling. Scroll up. Right. Now. Bam. An intro. It's Christmas. Hooray!
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, everyone watching. Keyboard community out there.
If you guys are degenerates like Huey and I, and you have nothing to do on Christmas, then that's probably why you're here, and we appreciate that a great deal. Kevin, Don, welcome to the show. Obviously, collaboration here, pretty awesome. Thank you guys both for coming on.
Thank you for having us, and it's great to have you, of course, also on our live stream. It's been a long time coming, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah. So we have actually had both of you on our show, and I've been on your show a long time ago. So this isn't totally unfamiliar. So we're very aware of each other, and we're gonna hopefully have a good time, probably with an alcoholic beverage or several. You know? So yeah, we might or might not all be drinking. For those of you out there, and any Twitch admin that's watching, I'm not going to be excessively drinking, okay? What I'm going to be doing is not excessive. Just keep that in mind. Because I know Twitch doesn't like that. Anyways, before we get started, how was everyone's Christmas? Kevin, we'll start with you.
It's cool. My brother and sister are home. I don't see them very much. I see them during Christmas, so I got to see them again for the first time this year. My 92-year-old grandma was around. That's pretty cool. And I guess we have keyboard stream, which is pretty cool.
That is always cool. What about you,
That's
Huey?
all I got.
My Christmas was pretty uneventful. I'm home alone, taking care of the George and dog sitting. So it's just relaxing. Haven't been doing much other than working on reviews all today and food and possibly alcohol. But it's been good, nice and quiet. How about you, Don?
Well, Christmas was yesterday for me, so I'm already well past that point. But it was a good Christmas. Had lunch with the in-laws on New Year's on Christmas Eve, with the family and whatnot, because my own parents don't do anything for Christmas. But Christmas Day itself was just spent chilling out at home, eating leftovers, that kind of thing, and then just went shopping today for Boxing Day sales. So, and for you, Brian, what did you get up to today?
I did nothing today. Absolutely nothing. I watched a season of an anime, and then I took a nap, and then now I'm here. So my life is obviously very eventful. I had very little going on this year for Christmas, and that's totally fine because now I get to spend it with you guys. Very happy about that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we do have. We're not going to be going over any news today because this is a little bit more of a special kind of episode. We'll save the news for our normally scheduled Thursday episode, which of course we will still have this week. But we got some things just to talk about, just to chill, talk about, have some drinks. So Huey, why don't you start us off?
Yeah, I'm gonna start us off with a drink, actually.
Oh, fantastic!
All right, well,
But it hasn't been
cheers,
15
everybody.
minutes.
Cheers.
Ganbei. Kanpai.
Cheers. Ding.
Kanpai. Oof, burns good, mate.
So, I did want to start a conversation off. It is Christmas for most of us here. Although Dawn is still in the Christmas spirit, and like I said before the stream, that is what counts the most. So, I was wondering, Christmas and keyboards, those things can go together. You just have to be creative and BS about it. So I was thinking about traditional Christmas traditions. Normally, growing up, you always hear your parents are like, "Oh, be good, otherwise you'll get some coal from Santa," right? And so kids were good because, yeah. But what would keyboardists get instead of coal from Santa if they were naughty this year? If, they ruined a PCB by bad soldering or something like, right? Like what would keyboard Santa be like? You've been naughty. What does a keyboardist get instead of a lump of coal? What do you guys think?
There's a lot.
Pudsey says exempt. Wow.
I would start off by, if it was a small misdemeanor, they would get unleaded solder.
Okay.
It's a great question.
Because nobody loves unleaded solder.
I might agree with Olivia here. Genuine cherry switches.
Yeah, MX Blues are pretty lame.
Genuine cherry switches.
Yeah. Vintage blacks. That's what they get.
A plastic keycap puller.
Oh yeah, one of those like ring keycap pullers that like damages your keycaps, and they break really easily.
An Imsto keycap set. That's never gonna appear. Absolutely not.
They actually get the group buy that Ivan didn't deliver.
One of our chat has said that they would get a Razer keyboard. M47 said they would get a Razer.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one.
Well, I think you would probably still get a lump of coal. That would still be very effective as a deterrent because, well, you can't type on a lump of coal.
I mean, you can type on anything if you try hard enough, right? Right. That's how this community works. You can hand wire some coal. It's like the guys that play Overwatch with like a bunch of bananas.
Yeah.
Seen that yet? That was
well, you can certainly wire a lump of coal to play Osu. It only takes 2 lumps of coal, right?
That's true.
I had a keyboard with older Kale Browns, and they were pretty horrible. Like, they were notably horrible.
Just imagine someone starts making a corded keyboard with coals. You can keep your amount of coals you need down. That means you only need like 6 naughty children instead of like, a whole keyboard's worth of naughty children.
I don't do anything with naughty children. Okay?
We're gonna stop that conversation right
now.
I just thought of something that would probably be the worst, and it would be an aluminium plate bent in 2 places. Because you're never going to straighten that out.
Oh, man. Yeah, and aluminum bends fairly easily, too.
Yeah.
And then, like, your caps don't sit, like, quite evenly with each other. There's always, like, larger gaps and thinner gaps.
If it's really bad, like, one cap would be, like, rotated a little bit higher as well. The tiniest bit.
That's happened to me before. I don't like that.
Keycaps where their stems are rotated at different amonts of angles.
Oh yeah, well, you could get those the JTK sliders, like the first round. Slightly. That would be pretty bad.
Well, Gert Tractor says you can use coal to replenish typewriter ribbon, so I suppose coal does have its uses.
Pudsey says Cherry MY.
Cherry MYs are pretty bad. Wet newspapers.
MY and ML both quite bad. Someone says Corsair K55 RGB. That's okay. Yeah. Huh. Royal Glam wrist rest. Really?
Oh, a lot of people have been having a lot of issues with the wood cracking on their wrist rest.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard about this.
That's been a not super common, but like it's happened enough where, like, how Mashop was running the aluminum. All the people in the discussions are joking about their Royal Glams breaking, and they're like, it's made by Royal Glam. They're going to find a way to make the aluminum break on you as well.
Because they also had the guys who had the marble layered wrist rest, and the marble's cracking because it's being glued to the wood, and the wood is expanding or shrinking and twisting, and it's actually broken the marble. So... I don't know if it's a matter of it's unseasoned timber or if it's not sealed and there's all sorts of potential causes for it. So
Yeah.
Anchorbait says buying all their keyboard stuff from Massdrop for a year would be their punishment.
You just wouldn't have shit for a year.
Wow.
You'd have
You
a
would
good
get
Christmas would come out.
By the time it all arrives, you're a good boy. Like, it's not fair. Awesome. That's some good.
Yeah.
Shattering switches is pretty shit. Like if it happens and you have to deal with it, it's pretty annoying. You just get a 120 keyboard with chattering switches.
Ooh, yeah. And you can't fix them.
Yeah.
You can't fix them and you can't replace them for whatever reason. Suspension of disbelief. But
that's like a curse. You know, you could, like, a gypsy comes up to you and says, "You forever shall have chattering switches in your life."
Getting a plank plate that you have to file the aluminum, that would be pretty bad. I mean, I don't know if that ever happened to anybody, but that would be horrible. That would not cool.
Okay. All right, Huey. What else we got?
So on the flip side of things, let's talk about some positive things. So a lot of people know, or maybe have seen, nativity scenes of, the wee baby Jesus. And the wee baby Jesus is visited by 3 wise men, where the wee baby Jesus receives gold, incense, and myrrh, also known as frankincense. If those were keyboardists, like what would you give if you were one of the wise men, the baby Jesus of keyboards?
Definitely the flip side. So, Chopra? Can we all agree on Chopra?
Like.
Well, I suppose the concept would be, traditionally with those 3 wise men, it was items of high value and worth, right?
Yeah.
So could you honestly say that Chopra would be universally considered high value and worth?
Universally?
As opposed to, I don't know, maybe like a Korean custom or something like that. Or even like a winged, what is it? The wingnut artisan, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Baby Jesus here is a Matrix keyboard.
September Ghost says one would get free shipping. 3 wise man comes along and says, "Here's free shipping."
Hey, free shipping could be a big deal if you're.
Oh man! Hello. It was like $70 to have a Model M sent to me from the US. Free shipping is like that is a big deal.
Well, see, this is also your kind of problem because you're not in the US and obviously not.
Hey, you just wait for the MXSS polycarb brass, because then shipping from Australia out to the US, you'll feel the pain in reverse.
I'm used to paying like $50+ shipping on a custom anyway. Very few customs are actually in America.
So one of ours, M47 has said 100 Zelio 78-gram switches, the Mechanics Fiel and terminal keycaps. Whoa, that's practically a whole keyboard right there.
Fiel, okay, good one. Someone, Jazzy Brewer in our chat is saying Grandma's Lube. Inside joke from several episodes ago.
Fantastic.
Oh man. Yeah, it's just. So how about we narrow this down before we expand it again? What if the 3 wise men had to give the baby Jesus switches?
Oh. I would say box navies, at least one of them. Either whites or navies. It depends on if baby Jesus' fingers are strong enough yet when he's a baby.
Holy pandas.
Holy pandas, yeah, that's going to be a top for me. Did you go to the NorCal meetup, Kevin? I don't recall if I saw you there or not.
Yeah, I did. I was there for a short amount of time. I had to leave early.
Did you poke on Holy Pandas at all?
No, I didn't. What board was they on?
Huey and I both had them in our X60s that were on the same table.
I mean, so maybe,
but very easy to miss.
Yeah.
I try to
those
bring
who
it around to
are familiar
people.
with them, what constitutes a holy panda? I mean, I'm assuming it's a panda switch in a what? What?
Okay, so
what
it's
what
a panda it's a panda housing with a halo stem.
Okay. I see.
Yep.
Cross.
We're having a lot of people say Nixies in our
Nix,
chat.
man, they're more meme than any. Oh, I guess if it's
They are
like
pretty mean.
they're pretty
It's
mean,
like
but would you
like
give
a-
the wee baby Jesus a meme?
probably.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, someone gave the wee baby Jesus myrrh, so yeah, which is basically embalming oil.
Nixies are pretty overrated.
Well,
Oh,
you know, preservatives are pretty important back in the 3000 BC period, right? Well, actually, it should be 0 BC because that's like when Christ was born, not BC.
drink time, boys. It's been 15 minutes since we started.
Okay, so I think so far we said we'd give the wee baby Jesus not Jades, navies, holy
Navies are good.
pandas. Chat says Nixies.
I don't know if I can agree with Nixies.
No.
I would see Helios over Nixies like all day.
SKCM Browns.
SKCM Brown's pretty good, very good. Yeah.
Is one gonna be designated for like the gold, the frankincense, and the myrrh? Is that like what we're doing?
No, I think we should
No.
do 3. We could. But one would have to represent what? Wealth, life, and death are the 3 representations.
Yeah.
So I guess
Yeah.
wealth
Well,
would be something from Zeal.
Or Nixies.
Or Nixies. Yeah.
Or
That's
neon.
true. Nixies are more expensive than anything Zeal's ever sold.
That's true. So let's do Nixies, and we're doing wealth for life. What, holy pandas? That's what I'd say. I am.
Well, no, because if it's holy, then it really should be saved for death.
But for death, I would just give like a bad switch, like a straight up like, here's a Gatoron a Gatoron clear I dropped out at the beach.
Why I had Gatoron clears at the beach, I don't know, but I did. And here they are. Build a boat with them.
That's maybe for death. Is there a switch that like just doesn't function? Because that would be a great one. Like stack pull switches get like so bad they like you press them and they don't come back up. That's very ineffective for using as anything.
That would be like foam foil switches where the foam has actually collapsed and doesn't spring back.
I think Melody in chat has the right idea. This is what I would say: Telios, Holy Pandas, and Jades. So yeah, you got all 3 of your primary genres. You got your Telios for linear, your Holy Pandas for tactile, and your Jades for clickies. Jades, navies, kind of interchangeable there. Those would probably be my top, because I think all 3 of those are my favorites currently in their respective categories.
It's like the Holy Trinity.
Exactly, that is indeed the Holy Trinity.
The Illuminati.
Cannot wait to get box Jades and/or box navies. Oh,
It's asking
really
from
depressing.
our stream chat, what are we all drinking? So I'm going to start off by saying that I've got some American honey. That's what I've got going.
Which is it's a Jack Daniel's product, I think. Wait, something American.
It's an Austin Nichols distillation company from Kentucky.
Okay. Huh.
So yeah, I don't know.
You're
Your
right.
Your daughter,
Right, baby.
Your daughter already has better taste in whiskey than you, Don.
Her tastes include fruit juice and milk and water. So breast milk. I mean,
That's basically
Yeah.
whiskey. Okay?
There's nothing wrong with that.
Don't get too weird here, Kevin. Kevin, what are you drinking tonight?
So there's this vodka, and it's like made with the water from Lake Tahoe. It's real fancy. So I got that, and then I got some Blue Moon.
All right, Huey. What about you?
Nice and easy with the Sapporo. I really need to take my old webcam off my monitor because I keep like thinking that's it, but it's not. And no better too.
I have side by side. So I just I look up there and it doesn't matter.
I have 3 webcams going at the moment actually, but only one obviously turned on for this. So
I just realized that you're supposed to look at webcams.
Like a true
I've just been looking straight at the computer screen.
like a true American, I am double fisting. I'm actually finishing off a bottle of George Dickel rye. Definitely not one of my favorites, but it's not terribly expensive. And I'm also drinking Elysian Space Dust IPA. Again, not one of my favorites, but it's pretty high in alcohol. So,
are you feeling a bit dickled?
Not quite yet, but we'll get there. I still have a fair amount, fairly sizable glass of whiskey. This beer and 2 beers after this one, so I'm good to go for the show. Also, Pudsey, thank you so much for resubscribing with Twitch Prime. Appreciate that, buddy.
Thanks,
Merry
Pudsey.
Christmas.
Awesome. Merry Christmas, buddy.
All right.
So we established what the 3 wise men would get in terms of switches. We talked about a little bit about naughty children and Cole.
Kevin likes to talk about naughty children.
Of course, I'm just full of the Christmas spirit. A lot of people love Christmas trees. Christmas trees, pretty cool. A lot of work, but if you had to put a lot of work in a keyboard, I feel like it's fair to put a lot of work in your Christmas tree. But what if you combine those 2 things? What are some great Christmas tree ornaments that you could fashion out of keyboard stuff? I was thinking keycap pullers is the easiest thing, just straight hang them on branches.
That's convenient. I don't know if that's very good though.
You can put tassels at the end.
I'm sorry, but when you said tassels, I got the wrong kind of tassel image.
You would. Kevin, what would you decorate your keyboard Christmas tree in?
You just drill. So you take a drill, and you take a clack, and you drill a hole in the clack, and then you put a string through it, and then you put it on your tree.
Drilling holes through clacks, very, very, very nice. That wouldn't trigger anyone at all.
I approve.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, it's worth it.
Totally.
Christmas spirit.
What about you, Don? What would your tree have on it?
I would probably get a brass plate, and then I would bend it around, and then you can bend bits and pieces and turn it into a star and stick it on the top, or you can turn it into cone shapes or whatever, or you could just take a hammer and beat it into a spherical kind of thing and hang it. So
I like the idea of having be a conical shape or a star for a tree topper. So we have our keyboard tree topper. We got a brass plate on top. We got some wire pullers with tassel of colored tassels hanging from the tree. We have some clacks and other drilled artisans, I imagine, hanging from the tree. How about you, Brian? What are you contributing to the keyboard tree?
That's a good question. And I'm really trying to avoid the simple answers of things like switches and keycaps, which I think would be good ideas, but I think they're also a little too obvious. So, my tree would have smashed up PCBs sprinkled all over it for snow. Like GH6
powdered PCBs.
Like the white ones, you crush up PCBs and you just dust your tree with it.
Yeah.
You can thank me later.
Are you going to also put them into lines and have a straw handy too? I mean, if you're going to party, right?
Talk about that. Right? I'm not gonna talk about that.
In the morning, when we all go downstairs to the tree, we're supposed to be cutting our feet on all of the PCB shards.
for keyboard TV. Come on, you know that.
We could use a live soldering iron. Just place it on the tree.
Hang a couple double keys, big switches. Not a bad idea. In fact, that would probably make a good tree topper. You set that right above your conical brass plate that you've bent. I bet that would look pretty cool. Have a big switch up there.
No, it'd be cool. So a big trend among the lazy has been those fake trees with the telescopic poles in the middle. Just imagine you put a pneumatic pump at the bottom of it, and you use a big switch. You push it, and the telescopic pole goes bloop, and your tree is set just like that.
Wait, Christmas tree?
Yes, Christmas tree.
Oh, here you go. A missing piece of the chat says braided cables. So maybe that could replace kind of like the tinsel effect that you screw across. That's pretty cool. Very smart. You just have paracord like all over that.
Well, I mean, obviously you're going to have RGB strips and whatnot as well to give a bit of lighting and color.
Well, I mean, if the tree doesn't have glow, it's not worth it.
It's not a Christmas tree, not RGB.
Yeah,
like
you need some SMD RGBs on the skirt of the tree, so it just kind of projects on your carpet.
And I mean, I'm actually finally in the RGB game with my first ever RGB keyboard in my collection. So and
Yes.
what's even amazing about this is the fact that somebody replied to my review and they told me how to get out of that program mode. So I am free from that program mode now. But yes, I can turn that on and put it under my non-existent Christmas tree here if I need that underglow feel. What?
All right, so we know next year for Christmas we can do a Top Clack X the board Christmas tree where we put all these ideas into one. You know, we'll crush up some GH60s.
Well, actually, there's been a suggestion for candy cane braided cables, and it's got to be a 40% tree.
I like those because
factor.
40% requires less things to. You know, I could probably get away with breaking up just one GH60 with that.
Well, no, you'd only be breaking up like 2/3 of the GH60 because it's only 40%.
I'm really only interested in ortholinear trees, guys. We're gonna need it ortho.
Is that where
all the branches are U and an L?
Like I can't do stuff, man. That's just too bad. Fair enough.
Well, how would you do a split tree? How would you do a split hat tree? Split.
Got to split right
tree.
down the precision cut with a laser. It's gotta
actually, a really good way to do that, it would actually be cut it horizontally, but suspend the top part from the ceiling and have the bottom part on the ground. So there's just
I like that.
Cables, but RS cables.
Yeah.
And then you just get a TRS cable to connect them to in the middle, and you got your split tree. We're gonna make it ortholinear. Make it like a 3 foot tree. No, that's still 50%. So like a 2.
It'd be 2 foot and 2 foot.
Between 2 and 3 foot tree for a 40% tree. It's gonna be a really long cable you'll need for your ceiling, but oh man, yeah, I got a split tree, 40% ortholinear.
It's like a stalactite and stalagmite tree. We can drop lube down.
Well, okay, so I think that a Novel Keys Big Switch would probably be the best tree topper. But aside from that, what would you guys top your trees with? What would be like the coup de grace of your Christmas tree keyboard experience?
Star Cluster Bronin. Doesn't get better than that. It's what peak performance looks like.
They look nice. Star Cluster, awesome colorway. But is that large enough to be your star on your? Well, I guess on your 40% tree, perhaps.
And for the 40% tree, definitely.
Okay.
40% ortholinear split tree. Star Cluster Bronin. It's the only choice.
Is it grid layout or MIT layout? Like, is the 48 key or the 47 key tree?
That's a great question. It's compatible. You can change it. It supports both layouts.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Bon CX says no tenting. Shake my head. You gotta have tenting there too, Kevin. Come on.
How do you do a tented tree? Oh.
Skillfully, my friend. Skillfully.
Well, I suppose the tree one half would be like at one angle, and then the other half would be like at another angle.
It has to be ergonomic for you to hang the ornaments up. That's the key thing.
Was it last year when I think it was Logitech made like a tree out of RGB keyboards?
Probably, I think so.
Yep, I saw that. Yeah.
That was last year, right? Okay.
They had it all layered up from the bottom, and then just turned on the light show. So, yeah, I don't know if I would really have anything to rival a a Ronin of that kind, because there's nothing really for me that is at that pinnacle or end game yet. So maybe on top of my big Switch, it's just going to be, it's just unreserved space. There's something yet to be pedestaled. We don't know what that is yet. It could still be an upcoming artisan maker. It still could be the most mind-blowing, design of keyboard or key set. Like, I like to think that there is still so much more coming ahead for us in keyboards.
Definitely, it's good mindset to put. So for me, I would definitely go for a TKL tree. Because I think the 40% tree is a bit small and it'd be a bit difficult, at least for me, because I have it with me and it's like the coolest thing I've got. I would undoubtedly probably just throw my Norba Touch on top of the tree, even though it would probably collapse it and be like, that's done. But a nice Topper board on top.
Norba Force, please.
Norba Force. I'm sorry, Norba Force.
Please. Oh, please.
Well, we've had some suggestions here from our chat that it would be either a Jelly Key, could be a PBT Double Shot Angel, star-shaped macro that controls the lights of the tree, or something that's just thick.
Do they spell thick with 2 C's?
They did.
That's very unfortunate. Anyways, I'm kidding. Also, it's drink time, guys. Cheers to all of you watching too. I know it's Christmas and you probably have better things to do, unlike us. So we appreciate you coming and hanging out with us. Seriously,
this is the best thing you could be doing right now.
I agree, but I think it's safe to say not everyone would.
Well, if that wasn't the case, then they wouldn't be here, right?
That's right.
Okay.
All right, Huey. Let's move on to our bigger discussion.
This versus that?
No.
You know that's gonna be a big discussion. No, it's not, but it could be. But
all right, so pretty loaded question here, guys. Obviously, we want chat interaction too from both sides, both on Top Clack and the board's chat. So, and this is probably something that should be reserved more for a New Year's kind of question, but we're approaching that anyways. So, YOLO, as the kids say.
YOLO.
What is everyone's highlights of 2017 in the keyboard community? And this can mean anything. This can mean community members, keyboards, artisans, key sets, products, whatever. What about 2017 made the keyboard community great and maybe not so great?
So hang on, you want highlights and lowlights?
Sure, why not? We have time.
I'm going to be selfish and start first. And I think the highlight for my 2017 is going to be the fact that we're actually still here with a podcast series from here, obviously, with the board and you guys and your video stream series, Top Clack. I think the fact that we've both survived a 1-year birthday and we've continued to grow, we've got sponsors, we've got community support, and we're still delivering to the community, and they're liking it, they're loving it, enjoying it, and wanting more. That is a highlight, because we said that at our birthday episode a year ago. We had no idea where we were going with this, and now we're doing a collab right now on Christmas, and we've got people who are spending their Christmas evening with us. That I think is my highlight for this year. For low light, I think it's the fact that we still continue to have scammers on Mech Market. Now, I know, Brian, you have been a Mech Market mod in the past, and you've handed those reins over to other really capable and fantastic people, and it's just sad to see that still every so often, even if it's like once a month, once every 2 months, there are people who are still getting ripped off and scammed by people in the community, and that I think is just that's just balls. So yeah, that's for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And man, not to add a whole lot to that, but it's even worse when it's people in the community that were once very nice, kind, active, trusted people.
Respected people, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to name names, but if anybody's been around for a while, you probably know at least a couple of them. Yeah, I'm sure Kevin does. And it's just, yeah, you probably know exactly who I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah, we know who you're talking about.
But yeah, and it sucks because, like, you know, a lot of these people, like, were once very nice, active, helpful people, and it just sucks when it just goes to shit. And they scam people, and nobody wants that, obviously. I will say, conversely, I think that Mech Market has a much lower amount of scammers and shitty people, and the keyboard community in general has less shitty people than a lot of other hobbies and enthusiast grade communities. That's been my kind of view on it, at the very least, from what I can take in.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kevin.
On to you guys.
The lack of scamming I've got, like, I haven't been scammed as much as I would have anticipated with like 200 trades now. Only a few. So
I have actually not been scammed yet, so I'm waiting for my first scam. I know you're out there. And if you need to scam me, all right, we're gonna do this, I guess.
See, my solution to that is to never buy stuff off Mech Market, so I won't get scammed. The only chance is if I'm gonna scam somebody.
Yeah. I used to use Mech Market religiously. I never missed a post. I saw every single post. And, you know, I was posting like every 2 or 3 days, whatever. And now I don't use Mech Market like at all anymore, because I rarely buy and sell things. I don't really have like the money. And when I do sell things, I usually I post it in the top Clack Discord, and I'm like, anybody want this stuff? Like, first dibs before I post it on Mech Market, and like everyone buys it. So I'm just like, oh, all right, no need to use Mech Market anymore right now.
Yeah, there is something to be said about like selling to people who you know are going to be like reliable. It just like I'd be willing to sell to them like less, so I know that I don't have to deal with any like risk.
Yep, most definitely. All right, Kevin, what about you for 2017 in the keyboard community? Highlights, lowlights, thoughts?
I think that was my mom's yard.
No worries.
Totally fine. We appreciate moms on Top Clack and the board.
Yeah, my grandma was in here like a little bit ago, but you missed her. She's 92. 92. I thought my top ones these are just the ones that came to mind first. Was doing the board podcast, the Seattle keyboard meetup, because I was in Seattle at the time. That was pretty dope. KBD fans, like, they pretty much started this year and they're killing the game. They're slayers. Bus Gamer, he blossomed like a flower this year. And Poison Summer was like crazy.
Poison Summer was insane.
Like, that was blowing my mind. Like, every keycap, I'm like, he can't do a cooler design than last week. And then it was cooler.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Marcus, because that dude was just putting out quality after quality for the entire. Like, I couldn't believe that he was able to keep that up even.
Yeah, so those are mine. Like the down part, like the sadness of the year. I don't know. I guess like the only thing is like scammers as well, and maybe like mass drop. Not necessarily like it's just like because Mass Drop hasn't been working out that well for a lot of different buys. It's been kind of crappy.
Yeah, totally.
I was also, I don't even know if it was this year, but I was really disappointed in the color that JTK, like the pink one turned out, because I really wanted like a magenta pink, like it was in the renders, and then it turned out like Valentine's pink, and I don't do Valentine's pink, so that's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Huey, how about you?
Yeah, me selfish like Don. I mean, one of my favorite big things was Top Clack, like, decided to be like, let's go for it, Brian. I know, doing way more stuff with our own YouTube channel now, having fancier overlays, like the one today.
Yeah, oh yeah. Before we forget, shout out to our designer, Outrage Pudding, for being a super swell guy, making this layout really last minute. Like super last minute. I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
I love how festive it is.
Even though like he had 4 drafts, he showed me. He's like, okay, pick one of these. They're all good to go. I'm like,
yeah,
damn.
He's like, yeah. I mean, he's like not even. He's in France, and he's like, I gotta go to bed soon, but here's like some awesome. Here's some like super badass drafts. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're using that one apparently. Like, awesome stuff. Anyway,
Got the
sorry,
next
dude.
4 years of Christmas streams planned out.
We'll have a different one next time.
So let's see highlights. Us. Same with kind of like Don said. Both us and the board. It's great to have more content for our hobby because not only does it bring people into our hobby, it also educates people who've been introduced to our hobby because there's always been a difficulty for a lot of people who enter the hobby to go from like prosumer to enthusiasts. From someone who's like, yeah, I got a Ducky Shine 5 and I got these PBT keycaps to someone who's like, I want to join a $400 group buy. You know, like that connection has always been very, very difficult for a lot of people. But with more content, I think it definitely helps transition to make more people like enthusiasts, which is great. I'm always happy that there's more stuff. Both what Don, you, and Kevin are been cooking up. Especially Kevin, you did the TKL video recently. If you guys are watching, check out that video if you haven't yet. It's cool. Let's see. That's for that. I'm gonna categorize my stuff. Okay, keyboard. Noble Force is technically 2017. Well, it ran in 2017 technically, but it's not shipping until 2018. So
we experienced it in 2017 because it was at the NorCal meetup,
and it's in my hands.
And it's in your hands. Feels top Clack, man. No, I'm kidding. I can't wait for mine. I got the notification, like the order notification. I was like, ooh.
And then you see that receipt total, and you're like, oh.
Yep. I'm like, Ryan, you're way too nice. You're a much better person than Top Clack deserves.
Let's see, key set. My favorite key set of 2017, though. That would have to be. I'm thinking Muted, to be honest.
Muted, favorite key set of 2017. All right.
Yeah,
Muted.
J-Chan. So either Muted, Honeywell, or KA 2017.
All pretty good options.
And a very close fourth would be Kekon's Group Buy for Dolch because it has the icon mods. What other I had categories written down, didn't I? Trend. My favorite trend was people not posting Magic Force pics anymore. That was so 2016.
Yeah, I mean, keyboard
it makes me laugh only because I saw that the dude who broke his Magic Force blue switch on the new list today.
You guys are talking about, right? Like last year, because Magic Force came out and it was super popular. Like everyone and their mother was like, "Did you see this $40 mechanical keyboard?" So everyone was getting that to join the hobby, which is great. It's great for a lot of people to join the hobby.
I'm about to say, like, you can't really bash on the Magic Force. The Magic Force is actually like relatively good value for $40.
Let's see. Next category I have is a hottest hunk of keyboards in 2017.
Yeah, let's talk about the hottest. Let's talk about the most attractive keyboard enthusiast.
Meeting Rama in the flesh at the Seattle meetup, like seeing him there, having him say, "Welcome to the Seattle Mechanical Keyboard Meetup" on camera for my video thing.
I actually got to meet him as well this year for the first time at the second Sydney meetup because he flew up for that.
Oh, wonderful!
And he's such a quiet guy.
Yeah, right. He's a wonderful individual. My goodness.
No, he's great. He's great.
A god sculpted him.
Rama. Okay, saying Rama is the easy way out.
Okay.
That's the easy way out. Even if we all agree he's the most attractive keyboard enthusiast. Aside from Rama,
Thunder Down Under.
Who is your go-to keyboard enthusiast?
Wait. Go-to keyboard enthusiast or like
hottest hunk? Yeah.
Best looking. Hottest hunk.
How about Plata-Bear.
Are you kidding me? That guy's such a goofy dude.
I'm sure he will enjoy that.
Gadgable has some pretty awesome hair.
Gabe
has some really cool hair.
Plus, I'm actually going to say he's got that voice.
Joris for me, like that European look. He's got the youth He's got, a very simple hairstyle. He could be, poster child for a very long time to come.
Actually, because I actually saw him in the flesh. Was it 20? Damn, no, it was 2016 technically, but Vector. No, I did see him in 2017. Did I? Yeah, I did see him in 2017. Yeah, because he went to Anaheim when I was living up there for. That was last year. No, damn, that was last year.
Our Ninja says Vector over Rama. Really? Like, have I not Vector enough to be attracted to
Vector. Remember, Brian. Vector's a sleeper hit.
That's
Vector is.
He's like a rock star.
Vector is great looking.
He's pretty cute. Oh man.
I met yours in person. He was gorgeous also.
Oh my gosh. You know what I'm gonna for me it's actually a tie between Outrage Pudding and Mike of Novel Keys. Mike of Novel Keys is totally my type.
Imagine
if I weren't straight, Mike would totally be my type.
What if you put his beard on Outrage Pudding on Chris?
Oof, I don't know. See, the cool thing is like they're both like super duper nice, but like they're not pushovers, and that's like my favorite quality in people. I don't know. What does chat think? Chat needs to be a little bit more active here. Obviously, we don't have quite as many viewers today because
everyone's too shy to say who their crush is.
Christmas.
I'm getting questions about making hand wires and springs and stuff like that, but nothing about who's the biggest hunk. So
Pudsey Pudsey just like overrided Blake, and I have to choose Pudsey now because he said that Blake quoted him as the more attractive version of himself. So...
I don't think I've ever seen Pudsey, but Blake is a goofy looking dude.
Nerdly's pretty cool looking. He's got his tattoos.
Nerdly's a very confident man.
He's got a style.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Austin's beard is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pernicious Pony.
Mm-hmm.
Someone says we've spent too much time on this bit. It's starting to get weird.
That's when it gets good.
Just you've never been in a keyboard Discord. That's totally right. Plus, it says his keyboard crush is 27. So Devin's a nice looking man, and he's very nice. Oh, here we go. How do we forget this? Custom 3 says ETF has the hottest stash in town. ETF is a very attractive man, and he's got he waxes his mustache out. So it's got that
almost like handlebar.
Mm-hmm.
He's got
that 20th century
yeah.
Look, it's very soigné, which is the word of the day, by the way.
Soigné.
I'll see if I can remember that, because then next year for November I might do that kind of mustache just to shake it up a bit.
Yeah, I mean if you ever go back and watch the Top Clack episode with him, you probably won't be able to stop looking at him.
My last category was favorite purchase of 2017 for highlights, and my favorite purchase of 2017 would... Yeah, I don't know, to be honest. I really can't say I know.
Well, real lot. So while you think about it, how about Kevin tells us his favorite and least favorite purchase of 2017?
Okay, definitely my favorite is it's over here somewhere. I got a Norbauer Nova Touch, and it's lubed and it has hyperspheres because at the Seattle meetup I tried MG Sicklers and the Novel Keys dude, and his felt so good, and I just wanted it replicated, so that's what I did, and it's amazing, and it's in a Norbauer case, purple sliders. It's fantastic. It's the best feeling board ever.
It is very good. I remember...
there's no competition.
I don't mean for this to sound sexual, but I remember when I was in your car, I was feeling that.
Oh, yeah.
It felt nice.
Yeah, that's definitely my favorite purchase. My least favorite, I bought a lot of vintage keyboards, and I lost interest in a lot of them. Went through a lot, 20 maybe or 30. It was a fun run.
Okay. Well, While chat helps us out. I mean, chat, obviously, this is supposed to be an interactive episode. If you have favorite and least favorite purchases of 2017, be sure to let us know. Maybe we can touch on those as well. Kevin, what about your least favorite purchase of 2017? What's the thing you wasted the most money on, or you felt you got the least value from?
That's a great question. I had a Duck Blackbird, which I didn't get like any use out of because I just didn't like it. And programming, it's really annoying.
Oh my gosh.
And it's too expensive to like ever touch, so you just like put it on a pedestal, and then it kind of just gets boring, and then you sell it.
I'm glad I didn't have to say anything.
It sounds like every duck board, Kevin.
Yeah, basically. JTK was kind of, I don't know why, but JTK just got disappointing. Like, it's just like I waited so long for it, and I had really high expectations, and it just like, I don't want to like hate it because it's good for like what it is, but it just like wasn't good enough, and I'm just so super sad about how I didn't like it.
Do you mean JTK key sets or sliders?
JTK key sets. Like they're so close, and then they just fall short, like in the things that matter, and then I'm not happy about it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. A missing piece in chat says, those poor souls who bought BKE boards at the height of their meme.
Yeah, dude.
Now referring to J-Chan's BKE Redux domes, which are about a very small fraction of the price.
Yeah, I found a BKE board at eWaste like at the very end of the meme, and I still cashed out on it. Yeah.
Well, we've had one suggestion, which was Taihao Fame. I'm not 100% sure if that was like the best or the worst, but I suppose for cheap keycaps, Taihao generally tend to be on the cheaper side.
Whoa! Taihao Fame is the Taihao Fame keyboard. I got one of those. It's like the Taihao keyboard with the super nice like GMK thickness keycaps.
Is that a vintage keyboard?
Yeah, it's like I think it's the 90s, like early 90s, and it's the one that has Kairos ran as a video on it, but it's like Alps keycaps that are like basically GMK keycaps.
Yeah.
So I paid $150 for it, and I'm very satisfied. Okay, Don.
Yeah, Taihao used to make. For those that didn't know, Taihao used to be like a really, really good keycap maker for older Alps boards, by today's standards. And now their MX caps are maybe a little less desirable, but at least they're inexpensive, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I haven't really had much experience with Taihao except for the first, I suppose, custom key set that I got, which was these yellow OEM caps. I paid like $20 for them, and I haven't had any Taihao stuff ever since. So it's not like, because like Australia really just sucks in having
You
nothing,
stop the sentence right there. You stop the
right?
sentence.
Like.
Just kidding. There
Hey,
you go.
not everything here sucks. We've got better dangerous animal killing things than you guys do.
That's true.
When I go to Australia,
Yeah, we don't have enough dangerous animals in my area, unfortunately.
But yeah. I suppose for me, best buy and worst buys. I don't have any worst buys because I don't actually buy very much in general. I don't have a lot of free cash for that, but when I do get the opportunity to, I try and pick my choices very, very carefully, as most people would with that kind of thing. I would say probably the worst experience in buying, as a extension of that, would be buying from Taobao. And I would say it's only because you're not 100% sure if you're communicating correctly, or if they pack the right shit, or like all sorts of things. You go, I want this, no, it's out of stock. I want that, that's out of stock. I can offer you this, but that's not what I want. So that was a really negative buying experience for me, unfortunately, in some ways. The best buy for me, I guess, would have been my PCB. And of course, that's very, self-centered in that aspect. But I think it was such a great feeling. And somebody had said to me after I did the video on it, it was like all my Christmases was happening before Christmas, because I was giddy like a schoolgirl that I opened this box and here it was, something that I had created. And I think for me, that was like the best money that I dropped this year on having that physically, saying that is what I produced. So, yeah.
I like your baby.
Yeah. But I can get a lot of them a lot cheaper. A lot faster. It only took 5 days. Actually, so Boomboy said Tahoe is his bay. So I would say yes, he's definitely saying that it is the positive of the year.
Sure. I mean, keycaps are always preference. If you're into Tahoe, then, there you go. More power to you. Very, very inexpensive.
How are you, Brian? How are you? What are your ups and downs for 2017? Whether it's keyboards, key sets, purchases, memories, loves, old flames,
beer.
Yeah, my favorite purchases in 2017 tend to be whiskey, not keyboards. But if we're talking strictly about keyboards, which believe it or not, this is a keyboard show, I'm probably gonna go ahead and say the Fjell might be my favorite 2017 purchase. My least favorite purchase. Now that gets interesting. And now I'm gonna struggle to think about it when I should have thought about this earlier while you guys were talking.
Well, I've got a correction.
I see. The problem with me is I tend not to buy shit. I just don't buy shitty stuff. Like I know what I'm going to buy. Like I know what something is like before I buy it.
Well, you know what you like, so you're not going to buy something you know you're not going to like.
Exactly. So like I don't recall the last time I bought something and I was like, damn, that was a bad idea. That almost never happens to me. So yeah, I mean, I did buy a Taihao Cubic set. Pretty sure that was in 2017. I don't love it, but it was also like $25, so I'm not that upset about it. Punzi says, bought E6, I don't buy shit. Bought X60. Punzi's trying to flame me. But you know what? I don't care. Like, I don't care. I love my X60. Like, straight up. I know the group buy was bad. I know it wasn't a well-structured group buy, and I'm past that, but I actually liked the product. I like my X60 a lot. E6 has yet to arrive to me, so I can't comment too much on that yet. But, yeah. No Chance RPG says Quakeum's just doomed himself for 2018. You're probably right.
I've had a question from Lovely Time on our chat asking about, is there an objective comparison between GMK and Cubic in terms of its profile?
Yeah. So Cubic is a lot more closer to OEM, but it's just sculpted a little bit more like Cherry. But like the height wise, GMK is much shorter. It's a lower profile, and that's probably like the biggest difference aside from the actual material differences. GMK is ABS, obviously. Cubic is PBT. Taihao PBT tends to be very rough and grainy. Some people like that. I don't. GMK is a much smoother ABS experience. I like that a lot more, and I'm willing to pay the extra for that. As well as the compatibility, because at least for the Taihao set that I bought, it had no compatibility. If it's a standard TKL or 104, that's it. Nothing else. So I like having the extra compatibility, but GMK just feels far superior, in my opinion. Cherry Profile ABS in general just feels far superior.
I've had a correction that I need to make where Boomboy didn't say that Taihao was his bay. It was actually Taobao was his bay.
Taobao, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, Taobao is a little bit like the Wild West. It's exciting still. It's fun. You never know what you're gonna get.
It's challenging. Yeah, it's challenging. But so like I bought a 96 key kit from Taobao as part of my Taobao buy, and the agent took like all these pictures, right, as you can request them to do, and the listing actually said that it was meant to come with a bottom acrylic plate as a protection plate and a diffuser for the lighting on it, and none of the pictures had this plate. And I went, well, where's the plate? And the guy goes, that's all that came in the package. I went, look, the listing, and I showed him the listing, said it come with a plate. So the guy hassled the factory or the seller, and they got a plate sent to them to the warehouse, and then they bundled it and sent it off. And when I got it and opened it up, there was 2 acrylic plates in it. So it's like, where was this other plate that they obviously had when the kit came that they didn't take a picture of? Like, it delayed the package because they had to go back and forth between the seller and then wait for it to be shipped. But it was just like, this all could have been
driving this thing.
So yes, Taobao is definitely, you don't know what you're gonna get. So
yeah.
How do you, Brian? Are your other highlights and lowlights and possibly black lights?
Black lights. Let's see. Favorite key set of 2017. That's a good one. I'm trying. Like, what key sets came out in 2017? Honeywell for sure. I really like Honeywell.
Miami Nights, Hyperfuse Redux,
Terminal,
KA 2017.
I don't own that, but it's I still like it.
Kekon's Dolch, the Hydro.
Hydro did come out early 2017. Yeah.
Muted.
Okay.
Nautilus.
Nautilus. Yes.
Dasher and
maybe
Dasher.
9009. I think.
I do have Nautilus. I haven't even opened my Nautilus yet.
There's
I'm
Godspeed.
waiting to build. I do like Godspeed a lot, even though I don't own that key set anymore because SA. I still really like Nautilus or Godspeed. So
Pudgy, it's okay. It came in 2017.
Pudzy's trying to get way too technical.
Yeah, he is.
Pudzy, relax, man. This is a chill stream, bro.
Yeah, it's chill. It's relaxed. Drink beer,
casual.
Pudzy.
Yeah, you're not drinking nearly enough, Pudzy. I think that's the problem.
Laser, apparently. GMK Laser.
No Chance RPG says he loves Hydro and Dasher Dancer. All right. I like Hydro. Hydro's good too. I like Hydro. I like Nautilus. I like Honeywell. Honeywell might be my favorite set of 2017.
Has Canvas dropped yet?
But I like Nautilus a lot too, so it's hard to say.
Canvas.
Solarized Dark hasn't actually shipped yet. So, depending on how you technically view that, that could potentially be my favorite set of 2017. Because I feel like I'm one of those few people that is like really, really looking forward to Solarized Dark.
Oh, I think I figured out the best key set. Cherry Profile, Cherry Palm, I got a white set from Fangs Group Buy. That's like impossible to find now.
Yeah, those are hard to find now.
Pretty good, yeah.
Oh, man.
Other than that, Hyperfuse is good. Hyperfuse is a superior colorway. So,
was Chronicler last year?
Yeah, right. That was 2016.
I'm too disappointed in Chronicler to remember.
I bought that. I made a mistake. We were so wrong.
That's understandable.
Expit. Oh, well, actually.
Cheers, gentlemen, and to Top Clack and board listeners.
What's the name from Prometheus that's like, we were so wrong? That's what I think about every time I think of Chronicler.
A missing piece says Oblivion. Oblivion's a nice one too. Very, very good.
But I mean, switching sideways a little bit with key sets. I mean, Profile XDA was 2017, wasn't it?
Was it 20? I was tail end of 2016.
Pretty sure that was 2016 when it like first came out.
All right, but now we see this E-Drug. Is E-Drug new?
The new the mix one by KBD fans. Yeah, actually, we're gonna be ordering that for review. But it's a mix of DSA and SA.
SA. It's like OEM high SA kind of.
Kinda, yeah. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Is that what the PPS is? Is that what it's called?
No, it's just Korea. No, it's on the news doc, Brian. That's all I can say. Read the news.
Sorry, we're not even using the news doc today. I'm sorry.
But Kevin and I are really keen to check this out. And,
so am I.
I mean, I haven't ordered it yet. I'm seeing what kind of finances I have post Christmas, but it's laser infill, right? So
Yeah.
that's a little bit
But
my thing.
that's well. So for me, the laser infill is a disappointing thing, but the fact that they're PBT keycaps is the advantage because it's really easy for them just to make white keycaps and then die sub for the people who want die sub PBT.
Well, see, I was saying, can't you do like a reverse die sub and then laser cut away the layer that you've die subbed?
You can.
Right?
That sounds possible.
White PBT, and then you do a very quick black die sub over the top, and then you just laser etch off that black layer. Would that not be like clean?
It depends. Wait, so I mean, if you laser it, maybe like the laser cutting, like the lasering leaves it as some color, right? Like, is that because normally they like infill it afterwards, and that's where it gets the color from?
Yeah, it comes from the infill because when you laser, it burns plastic, so it's black.
It might just be like an etched, like there's those like etched keycaps which are like they're like laser infilled, but just like no infill basically. I think they're on one of those like Chinese sites, but
what would be the benefit of doing that over just a traditional die sub cap?
Well, no, because then you can have the reverse die sub. You know how they were trying to get the light legends with the dark.
But that's already a thing. KBD fans are already doing that. They already have sets with it.
Yeah, but some of the issues that people were having was obviously the crispness and the edges of that. Whereas with laser cut, laser etched, you've got a much sharper legend and higher sort of fidelity on the quality of the legends.
So you laser the edges of the legend itself, not the keycap. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think that's what Kevin and I are saying. You still need to
infill.
Okay.
Well, it depends on if the actual lasering does burn the plastic to a different color or not. So.
Yeah.
I don't know what just happened there.
I love Kevin, man. That guy is such a fucking delight in person. Oh my god.
Yeah. Absolutely.
He's so fun.
I don't know what's going to happen one of these days when we have an opportunity for me to actually get over there and meet you all guys in person, but I'm sure that'll be a good time.
Oh yeah, wonderful time. Oh my goodness.
I've spent some time with Kevin. I've drank with Kevin too.
We're gonna eat so much food.
Oh my god.
That's what all keyboard people do. I've noticed. We all just eat food.
Yeah, it's almost like eating is like a necessity.
Or maybe it's just the people in the community I hang out with just turn out to really like food.
Well, typically when you hang out with people, it's because of a meetup or some kind of meetup related thing. And usually at or after meetups, there are food. So,
I mean, I've hung out with like Andrew of Input Club like outside of the meetup, and we just eat and drink.
Yeah, eating is awesome.
That's true.
Eating and drinking are awesome for lots of reasons.
Oh, that head shake, Kevin. It's such a Fabio-esque,
What are you trying to say?
Beautiful.
I do have similar hair traits to Fabio. The reason why I'm excited about the key set, which you guys are talking about from KVD fans, is because it's like an entirely new profile which we haven't seen, which is like crazy. Like that's hype, right? Like
it's
like
hype.
XDA was hype because it's like a new profile.
So
yeah,
actually, I'm really curious to see how it looks side by side to Mateo's MT3 profile. Actually, I think they'll be slightly more similar than people would expect, although different enough to differentiate. So that's a heads up. I'm personally really interested in.
Yeah.
Has anyone seen any more on the Van Keyboards' profile that they were working on that they did the 3D printed?
I have that set actually. Pretty cool. He hasn't released that much more information yet. He's still working on things. Right now I think he's mostly working on key set stuff and the current round of minivans. But,
yeah, he had both profiles 3D printed, if I'm not mistaken, at the Seattle.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
The big issue always is tooling costs, which are in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They seemed interesting. I forgot which one was which, but one of them seemed a lot more interesting to me than the other. I think it was kind of like the sculpted DSA one, whichever.
I have that one, the XXY. That's what it's called.
Yeah, that one seemed a little bit neater to me than the other one, personally. But I didn't really get enough time on either of them to have a real opinion.
Fair enough.
Yep. All right, so now's probably a good time to casually start our segue over to a Q&A section. Of course, we can still talk about other things as well, being a very casual episode. But if anyone in chat has questions for any of us, I saw some questions earlier that we didn't get to because usually we do Q&A at the end, like always. So now is where we're going to start that. So if you have questions in the chat for any of us, all of us, whatever, some of us, feel free to ask away, and we will get to them as quickly as possible. You can use the tag in our Twitch chat at PopClack, and that'll show us that we can get to it a little bit sooner.
A versus B. That's what I want to talk about.
All right, yeah. While we wait for questions, Huey's gonna start us off with.
So it's in the Twitch chat. I don't know if you need to post it to the Skype chat for Kevin and Don. Normally we talk about pancakes and waffles per the norm, so I decided to find some more Christmassy oriented pancakes and waffles.
Why is it green? Why is it green? What the hell?
Because life is tough, Kevin.
They messed it up. It was good when it was brown or tan colored or whatever waffles are.
Okay, so I'm actually gonna make a slight correction earlier. Someone called me on it and they were right. And let it be known that Quakeums is okay with being proved wrong. So when we were talking about Taihao Cubic earlier, I mentioned that my set was PBT. It is not. It is ABS. Someone in chat corrected me, and I didn't address it then. So
amateur.
I apologize for that misinformation. My Taihao Cubic set is ABS, though it does still have that very grainy kind of plastic feel that Taihao PBT tends to have. So it does feel very similar. I'm fixing a computer for a friend, and the board that I have the Taihao Cubic on is what I'm actually using for that because it's like a standard TKO. So I've been using that, and it feels very grainy, whether it's ABS or PBT. So, anyways, back to the very festive holiday pancakes versus waffles. What does chat think here? Pretty split. Couple B's, couple A's.
I think
up,
more
up,
A's.
down, down.
I think people are more down the bacon. To be perfectly honest, as opposed to like M&Ms in their waffles.
Okay, waffles are better. You just these pictures are totally screwed. Honestly, this is really biased. Okay, as a waffle advocate, I demand a recount.
As a waffle enthusiast,
as a representative of the waffle community.
I've got a question from Bogot,
of course,
who asks, what are all of you guys' favorite colors?
Interesting question. Okay.
I'm going to start that because my colors are actually, they've been the same since I've been very, very young. And that's just most medium to dark shades of green. I think it's just a really nice color to look at, and it's easy on the eyes, and it represents so much of life and nature. And of course, now with keyboards, PCBs, which is really fantastic. And of course, some of my favorite switches, which are greens. But I have been told blue actually is a much nicer color for me to wear for some reason or other. So that's mine, greens.
Okay. What about you, Kevin? Favorite colors?
Hyperfuse colors. Bam. I like magenta, pink, so like magenta, pink, teal, purple, and white. Hyperfuse, high five.
Hyperfuse.
Hit it.
Wow. Both of you just go around showing your unreleased boards like it's nothing.
Hyperfuse too.
Well, I'm showing my unreleased board in green because and it's got green switches in it as well.
Fair enough.
How do you, Brian?
I have two of. Oh, I hate to cut you off, but I'm going to anyway.
Yes, do it.
I have two of my level prototypes here. So this is the keyboard I designed. If you guys haven't heard about it, it's called the Level. It's a 65%. It's low profile, and it has an aluminum case with an RGB PS2 AVR PCB. And I have another one, and I will be sending one to Brian to build.
Yay!
Eventually. And that's the entire marketing budget of the project.
Yeah.
See, Brian gets one, and
Wow.
his co-host doesn't even get one. Like, I gotta pay for one if I want to get one.
You missed. Okay, that's true. Yeah. Rough.
So here's what was supposed to be the final round. I have like 10 plates that I've had made, trying to perfect some little details, but we're not there yet. You know, the check engine light was on this project for a little bit, but we're gonna get it back on track and figure it out. 2018, let's go.
I've actually got a.
Sorry, go on.
I've got a question from September Ghosts for you, Kevin, on that, and he's just asking if there's going to be any custom key sets after you finished the level. Are there going to be any custom key sets or another board after you finish the level?
I do want to do a key set if that ever happens. I was talking to Tai-Hao about doing Cubic for a while, but I kind of had to prioritize other projects. I also have 2 other designs based off of the first level that are going to be cooler and more hype, and I'm concurrently designing them, and I should have prototypes soon. So I want to keep the gravy train going once it finally leaves the station. So that would be cool.
As a fat white man, I appreciate the gravy train.
Brian, tell me your favorite color.
Oh my god! Actually, I bet none of you could guess my favorite color. None of you.
Fuchsia.
Which is why I'm just going to tell you. It's Viridian.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a combination between green and silver. But if you're looking for something a little bit more common, a little bit more mundane, I really do like cyan. Like GMK cyan, for example, is easily like a top 3 key set for me. Yes, thank you. Very nice. Very nice. Cyan is very. I guess I shouldn't say it's underrated in the community because there's a lot of cyan going on in the community, but it's definitely one of my nicer colors. Any kind of like lighter blue, sky blue, cyan, I'm all about that.
Do you prefer the cyan over teal?
Yes. Punsy says, "Oh, I didn't know Brian was pretentious."
Yeah,
you're goddamn right. I am, Punsy. Don't you forget it.
Like Donald's like, oh, any kind of green really that I like for the most part, just within certain shades. And Brian, you're just like Viridian because none of you have heard it. Viridian.
You have the Pantone number for it, Brian.
Someone's saying I made up the color. I didn't Google it. I swear, Viridian is the color.
We played Pokemon.
So actually, what's funny is the reason it became my favorite color. So back when I used to play Xbox, the original Xbox, not the 360 or anything. I don't know if you guys remember the Star Wars game Knights of the Old Republic.
Mm-hmm. Good game.
Viridian was one of kind of the lightsaber color options, and I did that, and I was like, oh shit, that's sweet. I really like that color. That's just became my favorite color. Like earlier 2000s when that game was still new.
Really a deep story.
Awesome, man.
You should...
Republic. Good.
Nice. You should blog about it.
We should. Anyways, I'm gonna get a couple of the questions that we have here because we don't have a lot, unfortunately, but we do have at least a couple. Mom CX is asking, is half plate nice or is it too hard to align switches properly / too bouncy? So I'm going to defer that to you, Huey, since you're kind of the half plate person here.
So that's kind of like a big preference thing. So in terms of aligning the switches, you have to use bottom housings that are PCB mount and make sure your PCB also has the holes for the PCB mount switches. Otherwise, it does become a big pain to align switches. In terms of how it feels and that bounciness, that is based on the thickness of your PCB and how hard you type yourself. A lot of people like it because that bounciness kind of adds synthetic springiness to the feel as you type. Some people don't like it because they correlate that to be flex, and some people don't like big flex feeling in their board.
Flex.
Yeah, flex. So that is a big thing about the preference, and that's why PCB mount and even half plate mount is really, really, really like yes or no in the community. No one's really like, yeah, they're okay. People are like, no, not for me. Or people are like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Can you explain what you mean by half mount?
Of course. So a half
plate.
plate mount is, so imagine. Let me just unplug my computer.
I think I have one right here. All that I can show it off.
You have yours? I have mine somewhere.
I have one literally in my hand right now.
Okay, so imagine a plate for 60%, but the plate only covers the numbers, the modifiers, and the bottom row. The alphas are unmounted. Traditionally, it's usually the alphanumerics, which also include the top row. But usually for stability, they'll also do the number keys as well if it's a 60%.
So is that plate that you just held up there, Brian, one that you've modified by cutting through, or is that actually manufactured that way?
This is actually by the B Paha, who is a Seattle representative. He cut this for me. It's acrylic. It still has the paper on it, which is why it has color there. But this is actually an acrylic plate. But it is indeed a half plate, if nothing else. So like Huey mentioned, it has no plate portion for the alphas. So when you're typing on the alphas, it's like you're typing on a PCB mount build, and then we're typing on the modifiers, and in this case, the alphanumerics, or just the numerics. I mean, that will also be on acrylic. So kind of preference. I mean, PCB mount is a very old school thing. A lot of people really like old school kind of styles. I know a lot of the older. I mean, I'm not trying to segregate age here at all, but a lot of the older veterans in the community, a lot of people prefer that PCB mount feel because it's a little bit more raw, a little bit more natural. You're not hitting against a plate. You get the full experience of the switch and the PCB that way. Some people like it a lot. Some people don't.
Okay.
All preference as always.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I PCB mounted a board of mine and I hated it. I think it's stupid, but I like thin plates. Like I like acrylic plates more than I like aluminum plates, so I'm weird.
People don't really understand how plates work sometimes, but like plate material can be a lot bigger than people think, and metal isn't necessarily the greatest thing. A lot of people, especially these days, polycarbonate is coming back in style. Polycarbonate is obviously not a metal, but it's still a very popular.
That's what it is.
Acrylic is a much cheaper alternative, though maybe arguably not quite as nice. But yeah, half plates definitely a thing.
Cool. Yeah, I'd just never encountered until just then, so I'll have to check it out. I've got two questions from our chat here. One is, what is your all-time favorite keyboard, which is a big question. And then the second one, which was a bit more related since it just came through, was what is your dream plate material?
I will answer that as soon as I get back from the restroom.
All right. Well, while he does that, I will give my answer in sequence too, because I don't want anyone's questions to be left out. So my all-time favorite keyboard is always going to be hard, because when you talk about keyboards, and especially like the people that have been around for a while and have spent actually like a fair amount of money in this hobby, most of them gravitate towards custom keyboards. I don't really use keyboards anymore that are like stock off the shelf. Like I don't go and I buy like a Cooler Master or a Philco or a Corsair or a Razer, you know, like those don't really exist in my realm anymore. It's just like, you know, I buy this case and then I buy this PCB and then I buy this plate and then I buy and or tune these switches and then I use these keycaps. Like to me, like that's a keyboard now. Like right now, I'm not using it's not a keyboard kit. Like I'm using the Clipe case, which is designed by Leandrin over at Mechanics, Norwegian. And then I have, you know, I don't remember what PCB I have in here, but I have some PCB in here. Then I have a brass plate from Leandrin also. And then I have Kale box Pale Blues in here, which are awesome. Those are from Novel Keys. And then, you know, I have, you know, random stabilizers, Genuine Cherry, and a GMK keycaps. Like to me, the keyboard is kind of always the sum of all of its parts when it comes to customs. I don't really use stock boards anymore, so it's really, really, really tough to just be like, this is my favorite keyboard or this is my least favorite keyboard, because a lot of people, when they ask that question, they're expecting something like it's, you know, the Cooler Master so and so or Razer so and so, because that's what people think of when they think of keyboards, not necessarily a fully built custom from like the ground up. So really, really tough to say. I think that question isn't really specific enough to people like at least Huey and I to be able to give a very proper answer for that. As well as detailed info on like plate materials, I don't know. I don't know what my dream plate material would be because I feel like you're asking us to pick a plate material that either doesn't exist yet or something that is like way too expensive, and because we haven't tried it, it's hard. Like, because you don't know how a plate's going to feel until you try it. So I can't say something is my dream material without knowing what it feels like, if that makes sense.
I think that's also going to be an issue because your plate material feels change on what kind of keyboard it ends up in too, because of the mounting points on the PCB and the case, and if it's a, you know, like if the plate's a top mount as part of the case, and so on and so forth. So
exactly,
yeah,
a lot of variables, especially. I don't know if this user that is asking the question is newer to the community, but there's a lot of things that go into the field of keyboard. It's not just one thing. Like it's, you know, your obviously switches are a big deal. Your plate's a big deal. Your housing's a big deal. The way it's mounted is a big deal. Your keycaps are a big deal. The desk surface that you're typing on can be a big deal. So there's a lot of variables that go into it that a lot of people really don't think about. And once you start building custom keyboards, especially from various parts kind of thrown into one mishmash, then it starts to make a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, sorry.
Now that Huey's back.
All right, Huey, favorite keyboard and favorite dream plate material.
Current favorite. I don't have a single favorite keyboard. I have 3 I will give you right now. My 3 favorite keyboards are my Norbaforce, my HHKB, and my X60. My Norbaforce has lubed 55-gram NovaTouch sliders with GMK Hyperfuse, the Norbaforce case. The HHKB has BKE lights, lubed Topra sliders with Just Systems Hypro keycaps, and silencing foam, and a Hasu Bluetooth controller. And my X60 has a stainless steel plate with GMK Dolch by Kekon on top, Holy Pandas, and a Sprint PCB. Yes.
All right. Favorite dream plate material?
Copper.
Ooh, okay.
Just because of the way it looks, or something else?
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Both.
Yes.
All right. Kevin, we're going to move on to you, but before that, we must drink.
No.
Don't sigh, Don. You're way far behind. Anyways, Kevin, tell us about your favorite keyboards and plate materials.
Okay, so like, this is a hard question also. I would say that like, you have to have like a favorite keyboard that's like a keyboard that you would buy like early in your keyboard career, which would probably be like a FC660M, because I thought that keyboard, like, that was a keyboard that which pretty much got me like into the hobby. And from there, probably my favorite ever has been this guy, which is what I went to go grab, which is my shit, is that upside down?
No, you're fine.
We're good.
Pretty good.
This is a Norbauer NovaTouch with purple sliders, lubed, and hyperspheres, and 9009 round 1. It's pretty fantastic. Thank you, Pernicious Pony, for doing all the modding for me. I don't think I'll ever find a keyboard that can compete with this, but I do like my levels a lot, because it's like, I tried to take into account, this is another one which I have. I tried to take into account when I was making these the like mounting point decision, as well as choosing the plate material, which I like. So I like acrylic plates. And then I was really bothered by like a lot of customs, how they're in 2 pieces, and then the plate material will mount onto the top piece, which means that it's like mounted like negatively, like it's attached from the bottom up onto the top piece, which like in my mind, there's just like less stability there than if it was mounting on the bottom piece.
Yeah, it has no stability in the middle. That's not even it's not even an argument. There's just it's only mounted around the edge.
So that's why I like took that into account when I was designing my keyboard. And so this is like probably my number 2 is my keyboard, the level, which will go on Group Buy soon.
Looking forward to it.
I'm very excited to be able to build and type on one of those because I didn't actually get to try it at all at the last meetup. So
yeah, I had it there for like a little bit, but I was like in and out of that meetup.
Yeah. I saw it for like a split second. There were like a bunch of people around there, and I was like, "Oh wait!" And like I think you were gone. I was like, "Oh, all right, never mind."
I'm excited for Brian to send it to me for the video portion of that review.
You wish. No, I'm kidding. That'll probably be the best course of action. Yes. Anyway, what about you, Don? I think you're the last up for this one.
I'm gonna be pretty boring in that context of favorite keyboard because
I know you will.
I don't have a lot of customs, right? I don't own any true custom. I mean, I've got a 60% kit, like the cheapest possible Taobao kit you could put together. I've got 96 key once again from Taobao, and then I've just got mostly OEM boards. I mean, I've built Ergodoxes and I've built Let Splits and Gherkins and things like that. My favorite, I think, is probably going to be my Ducky Legend, which is my work board. So, you know, I'm typing on it 5 days a week at work, and I spend more time, 8 hours a day typing on it than at home. And so it's nice that I like it. Otherwise, obviously, I still wouldn't be using it. And I think it's because I like keyboards that are zero flex and very little bounce in that context. So it's got a 5mm, aluminium top section, and it's got a steel plate. And I love my Philcos because they got steel plates. For that, going forward into talking about a dream material for a plate, I would have to say something along the lines of either titanium or tungsten. I like heavy keyboards. I like having that mass, and that's why I like the Leopold over the HHKB, because it's got that extra mass, and I think it helps with the sound. You don't get a lot of that light hollowness that the HHKB gets, and that would be with the tungsten, because tungsten's a very hard, but yet unfortunately it's a brittle material, whereas the titanium is a very stiff material, so you're going to get a lot less flex, but obviously it's very light. So if you could have a tungsten and titanium alloy, that would be like the best of both worlds. Super rigid, super hard, but a medium weight that would give you, I think, a really great response. So, yeah.
Fair enough.
It'd just be very expensive.
Yeah. I know a lot of people are really trying to gravitate towards the tungsten, but nothing's really happened yet. And I assume it's because it's a little pricey.
Tungsten's also really hard to both alloy and mill because of how brittle it is. So you have to go very slow and very carefully because it fractures so easily. I have tungsten alloy tips for my arrows, my competition grade arrows, and they snap really easily. So if you impact like a hard surface, like the frame of a target, or if you miss and you hit something like that, it's very easy for them to just break off entire chunks and chips. In that context, if you have a case and it's made out of tungsten, or even a lot of the common tungsten alloys, and you drop it, it would not surprise me if an entire corner chunk would just break off that. And the mental anguish, I think, would be absolutely astronomical for a lot of people. So you got to think about that kind of consideration. Yeah.
Sure. We had a question from a while ago that I didn't address, but this is from like 20 minutes ago. I'm going to get to it now just to make sure we're thorough here. Gert Tractor says, I'm thinking of lubing the Cherry MX Silvers in my Race 3. I really like that board. Just could be a little smoother and lighter, and it would be perfect for me. I was thinking I could swap the springs, but I would probably only want it 5 grams or so lighter. The problem is, I don't know what spec the stock springs are. Will lubing them make them feel lighter at all? So, a lot of things to think about in this question. So, for starters, lubing doesn't necessarily make it feel lighter. Lubing makes it feel smoother. Conversely, there is a lot of... in the past there was a lot of resistance in Cherry MX switches, which you could argue contributes to a little bit more weight. Very, very arguable. Very arguable. So if you remove that scratchiness, you might get a slightly lighter feel. Like, for instance, if you take, I don't know, Cherry MX Reds and Gateron Reds, Gaterons being objectively smoother than Cherry MX Reds, Gaterons might actually feel lighter to you. Even if they're not, they might perceptively feel lighter to you. So that could be a course of action. But I would not imagine that lubing them would fix your problem if they are too heavy for you. You might want to consider different springs or different switches if at that point. You ask, or you don't really ask, but you state you don't know what spec the stock springs are. They are 45 gram actuation, which makes them roughly 55 to 59 gram bottom out, usually in that 55 to 57 gram bottom out range. So if you got, let's say, 50 gram springs, like Korean springs, bottom out force is usually how they're measured. So if you get 50 gram springs, they will be roughly 5-ish grams lighter than the ones you have now. So that could also be an option for you. But I don't necessarily think lubing them will make them feel lighter enough for you if you want them 5 grams or more lighter.
Can I just throw in some science there?
Absolutely.
Or should I say physics?
Absolutely.
So the overall force equation from a very simplistic point of view for a key switch activity is going to be the spring resistance, and then you have to take into consideration the coefficient of friction, and then of course that is counterbalanced by the weight of the keycaps, because if you have a really heavy keycap, right, it's going to already start depressing the spring, so your starting point of force on that curve is going to be higher. Now, what Brian was talking about with the lubrication and making it feel like it's lighter is because you're lowering that coefficient of friction. So if you have a really rough, scratchy switch, and let's say it has a 1 Newton force of coefficient of friction, you have to overcome 1 Newton before you start to feel the spring. But if you lubricate the switch and it drops down to, say, 0.2 of a Newton, then it's a lot less force to start moving that switch, which is why it feels like you're actually having a lighter spring. But in reality, the spring weight hasn't changed. It's just the total force has changed. Conversely, on that aspect, if you start off with super light keycaps versus very heavy keycaps, like if you went and got brass keycaps and they're like 5 grams versus like a 1 gram plastic ABS keycap, then you've actually got less force that you need to use because it's already probably broken past a certain point on that curve, and then obviously the travel distance changes as well, and so on and so forth. So it's like we were talking about how a keyboard feels and sounds, how a switch feels will also have all these factors adding into it to get that end result. So that's just something to think about as well.
Most definitely. And, most people probably aren't going to be using metal keycaps, but even in plastic keycaps, PBT is a denser, heavier material than ABS. So in the same kind of vein that Don was saying, PBT keycaps will, in theory, whether you perceive it or not, biologically, it will make your switches slightly lighter because PBT is a slightly denser and heavier material than ABS per se. So, you try the different combinations, get what you want, but chances are if you're trying to remove 5 grams or more of weight, you're probably not going to get that just by lubing.
Just have to add 5 grams to your keycaps.
Which is tough, yeah, because...
No, it isn't. So I used to play tennis a lot, and lead tape was
the
a
lead
thing.
tape?
Just buy lead tape, cut it into small pieces, put it underneath your keycaps. You can easily get 1 to 5 grams, no problem.
Okay, yes, there are very interesting home remedies to this. You can always add weight to your keycaps in some format, I guess.
just wear gloves and wash your hands after you do your mold.
Yeah, very.
I'm not
very
sure what's happened to Kevin, but his frame is frozen for me.
Mine or Kevin's? Oh, Kevin is frozen.
Maybe he's just staying really still.
Kevin, are you alive? He froze on a great frame though. That's a fantastic look for him. He's like, what the hell? Well, we don't know necessarily what happened to him. Hopefully he'll come back soon. But until then, the show must go on.
Oh no, he's gonna mess up my thing now.
It's just drop. Now, while we wait for that, I have another question from September Ghosts as well, which was, what do you want in a Switch, but think will never happen? That's a really, really tricky one.
That's a fantastic question.
What do I want in a Switch that will never probably happen? My lifelong aspirations to come true. No, on a more serious note, it's hard to say because it's hard to think because people don't think with their fingers, they don't think with their hands and their wrists. They think about the typing experience as a whole. So it's hard to really justify what we might want in a Switch other than like weights, distances. Like, it's easy to say like, oh, I want a bigger bump at the beginning. But as Brian has pointed out, sometimes for some people, BKE bump might be too intense. So it's hard to like really know what to ask for without knowing how we type better. If that makes sense. And I know it's a really BS answer, but it's definitely has a lot of considerations behind the psychology of what you want and why you want it. I'm gonna fix the thing.
That's fine. Yeah.
Have you tried? Anyone tried re-inviting Kevin?
I just did. It didn't work. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Anyways, while we hopefully wait for Kevin and QE fixes that, I will give my answer for the question. So, for those of you that probably don't know me, if you're maybe a board listener and instead of a Top Clack listener, you might not know too much about me. I am primarily a linear switch user. I don't care quite as much for tactile and clicky switches. And when it comes to linear, obviously there's no bump to, adjust or, make alterations on. So it doesn't matter how big the bump is, where the bump is, etc., how the return is. What matters is how smooth the switch is, how the spring feels, how it acts and sounds against the plate material and inside the housing. Those are the big concerns for me. So for me, I need smooth. I don't want friction. I don't want any. If I have the choice, I want no friction at all. Obviously, because any kind of scratch or roughness or sandiness, quote unquote, is not necessarily a good thing to me. I know some people it doesn't bother, and that's totally fine. And more respect to you. But I like a very smooth switch. I want to feel the properties of the spring and the plate and the plastics over any kind of roughness during the press. That's just me. So for me, a switch needs to be perfectly smooth. The spring has to be very interesting to me. And to me, that means very quote-unquote bouncy. So it needs to have a lower actuate, like there has to be a wider gap between actuation and bottom out. Because I like the feeling of a lot of weight between those 2 points. Because when the spring bottoms out at a much heavier weight than the actuation force, it gives kind of like what I like to call the pillow effect. So like, it's a little bit harder to bottom out, but I still do it. It's like a what's the term I'm trying to think of?
It's like push on a Newtonian fluid.
Yeah, it's like a forbidden thing. It's like a forbidden thing, right? Like, you're not supposed to bottom out switches. We've learned that in the past. We've learned that with Halo switches, with Hako switches. Input Club are very smart guys, and they say, they know that on mechanical keyboards, you're not supposed to bottom out. But you know what? Most of us do anyway, including me. So for me, that extra feeling, that much more padded weight between the actuation and bottom out is freaking incredible. I love that. And even though I'm not supposed to bottom it out, it makes me want to even more because it feels so much more interesting to me. So I need a very interesting spring. I need smoothness, and last but not least, I need a good sound. Plate material matters a lot. The housing matters a lot. Whether it's high or low profile matters a lot. How much resonance inside the case there is matters a lot. So I need a nice deep tap. That's what I need. I don't want it to be loud. I just want it to be a little bit more muted, a little bit more of a thud, a little bit tappy, if that makes sense.
I think Kevin might be back. Something about his connection.
Okay.
I can't actually see because if I open the chat, everything will also be messed up.
I'm on it. I'm gonna try to invite Kevin back. I can see what he's been saying. Hopefully this will work.
Well, while that's happening, talking with about that aspect, Brian, that you want that forbidden, not quite bottom out.
I think
I guess it means hey, welcome back.
Did the layout on the Skype call like get all whack?
Yeah, don't worry. I got
yes. That was my plan the whole time.
Yeah. Unfortunately, when people leave and/or come back, it really destroys the layout. But Huey's a professional, and at Top Clack, obviously everyone here knows we're professionals, so we adapt as much as we can. Anyway, Don, please continue.
I was just going to say that you could think about like a hydraulic switch. Okay. That would be a really interesting switch design. I mean, in the chat for our side, somebody said, you're talking about like a bounce back kind of thing, and Gert Tractor is saying using magnets because they'll get progressively more resistant towards the bottom, which would be true. But a hydraulic would work in a very similar fashion because depending on the fluid that you use in your hydraulic system, right, some fluids have a range of compressibility before you hit a level of incompressibility, right? Water is extremely hard to compress. Gas is relatively easy to compress to a certain pressure. So if you had an actual gas hydraulic switch, then you would get that ramp up, that exponential ramp up that you're looking for, and it would prevent you from ever bottoming out unless if you were just absolutely pumping that switch.
And I don't know if you know about Quakos, but Quakos absolutely pumps that switch.
But then you could have built-in safety valves and things like that where you could actually hit that point and it would have a gas release and then you'd get the bottom out, but then on the bounce back it resets that seal and valve and then you can go again. So I think that would be very interesting if someone could design a tiny ass hydraulic switch. It sounds like
it would be very expensive is the issue.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It sounds really cool, but it also sounds really impractical for.
Yeah, but you got to remember the question is, what would you like? That's never going to happen.
That's true. That's true. Very, very fair to the question asker. You are right there. Anyways, Kevin, welcome back. Hopefully your internet is holding up for us now.
In your absence, you were missed.
Yeah, we are on the same question we have been on since you left, I think, or while you left. Of what would be your favorite switch that doesn't exist effectively?
A Model F switch that's lighter weight than a Model F switch, so that it doesn't smash my fingers up and make my fingers tired, but I can still use a Model F switch, which is like the coolest switch ever.
Very fair. Model F is very cool, and for those that aren't aware, Kevin does not like heavy switches.
My fingers are delicate, okay?
Kevin is a delicate flower, and he needs very light switches to type.
I ordered like the Model F Group I, the remake from that dude on modelfkeyboards.com. Yep. So that should be coming first quarter of 2018. We'll be pretty hyped.
Just like it was supposed to be coming first quarter of 2017.
2016 original ship date.
2016. Yep.
I'm hopeful that he's gonna come through.
Absolutely, I hope so because it's a very cool board, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Huey, did you answer this question yet?
I gave a BS answer. Does that count?
BS answers definitely count. All right, so I'm going to move on a little bit more in our chat since we're still a little ways behind and we have a couple questions to come back from. Gert Tractor also asks, I was thinking of getting a Topra for my next board, probably an S660C. Apart from size difference, what are the pros and cons of the Leopold compared to a Real Force? Very little, honestly. Size is the main thing. They both use genuine Topra setup. They both use a steel plate for the slider housings, and they both use a plastic.
You know what? I will actually give the FC660C has one giant advantage over a Real Force 87U.
I think I know it.
It has
Pick
four
me.
rubber
Pick
feet
me.
on the bottom.
That's not what I was gonna say. I was gonna say the programmable chip from Hasu, but that too. Right?
Also, no, so Kevin actually brings up a very good point. Like, this is a super good point. So if you really value programmability in your keyboards, FC660C is better because community member Hasu, very smart guy, actually makes a programmable controller for it, whereas nobody currently makes a programmable chip for the Real Force.
Ryan, I need to ask you something. Can you say FC660C 5 times for me?
FC660C, 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 FC660C.
Got it.
That's so close.
Top Clack represent. Good enough for how drunk I am. I'm okay with it. All right. But anyways, back to the question. Yeah, so that's something to consider. Obviously, size difference is preferential. Layout, obviously, very, very, very subjective. Some people need that TKL. Some people, like me, like a little bit smaller. I actually prefer the 660C. I think they're both fantastic typing experiences, both stock or modified even. But yeah, like Kevin brought up an incredibly good point of programmability. So if you don't care about programmability, then it doesn't really matter as much. If you do care about programmability right now, the 660C is definitely the better option because you can actually get a means to program it fully, whereas you cannot with the Real Force.
Also important if you care about having an adequate amount of rubber feet on the bottom of your keyboard. Just saying, it is a big deal when you type.
Because bump-ons do not exist, Huey. Fantastic.
hey, the fact that I have to do it extra is a small minor annoyance that when I'm paying $200+ for a keyboard, I would expect it out of the box to not have to wobble around, or for a lot of Real Forces, have to bend it back into shape because a lot of them come unlevel. Just saying.
That's one of the issues that I have with my HHKB is the plastic case doesn't meet flush and it flexes.
You have. Yeah. When I originally got my original case for my 87U, I took the board and I held it like this until I could put it down and it'd be even. That's what I actually did.
I never had to do that with my HHKBs.
Not with my HHKB, just my Real Force. My HHKB came absolutely perfect.
I was going to say that the Real Force does have a case. It already has some case options, but good luck finding them. But it'll have the Norbauer one soon.
The Norba Force, which is an amazing case that Huey's probably going to show off right now, even.
Review coming out like tomorrow or the day after, I believe.
And honestly, you don't need more cases because the Norba Force is already so freaking cool. Like,
let's see if I can show you the texture of it.
I was like, whoa, what is this? And like, I just sat there and typed on it, and I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah, Norbauer did such a good job on those cases. They're so cool.
Yeah, for anybody that wasn't aware, we actually had him on the show, not last episode, but the episode before that. On you can check us out, Top Clack's YouTube official, and it was fantastic. Norbauer is a really, really, really interesting guy, more so than you probably realize, and he did a really awesome job on these cases. So very looking forward to the launch of these. All right, we do have more questions though. Non-keyboard questions, cool. Those are totally fine too, by the way, guys in chat. If you weren't aware, you can ask non-keyboard questions. That's fine. Olivia is asking favorite drink. I'm assuming alcoholic here, but take that as you will. Kevin, start with you.
Silver City Tropic Haze IPA.
Silver City. Wow, that's
yeah.
Silver City's like that's 10 minutes away from me. So that's interesting that you chose a beer that local to me.
Yeah, I had it a lot when I was in Seattle.
Silver City is an incredibly popular brewery out in Washington in general. They distribute all of their beers, most of their beers. Pretty wide range in Seattle. I have a lot to say about Silver City, but I guess that's for another time. What about you, Don? What is your favorite alcoholic beverage?
I don't think I really have one. I don't drink enough. to know 100%. But I would say if there really, really had to be one, it'd probably be port. A good Australian tawny port would probably come close for me.
Port wine is that
Port
what you're...
wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for those that don't know, port wine is a rich kind of sweet wine. It's also referenced as dessert wine sometimes.
It's a fortified wine. Yeah.
It's fortified. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
It's very intense and often kind of sweet.
They do vary a bit from European port to Australian port, obviously because of the different grapes and stuff like that, and the style that's used to make them. But Australian port are some of the best out there.
That really expensive one.
Oh yeah. Huey, favorite drink?
Gin and tonic?
Gin and tonic? It's simple. Do you at least have a favorite gin?
The one I had last night was actually really good, not gonna lie.
You know how classy Olivia is. She's not looking for half-ass answers here.
No, she's probably not even in chat anymore. It's okay. She's like in the future.
That's
so.
probably true. True.
Do I have a favorite? No, I'm still searching for that perfect gin, to be honest. Because if I had that perfect gin, I wouldn't be drinking gin and tonic or gin and juice. I could drink gin. Like a baller. A shot
Maybe.
baller.
Actually,
20-inch rims on the Impala.
as someone that drinks a lot of alcohol, I will tell you right now that very few people drink gin straight.
I know.
It is not usually something.
It's how I work on growing chest hair.
If you were like me, but
How do you, Brian?
Just get implants. Just get implants.
I have enough hair to spare you. We can collab.
Oh, we can share.
I got you, man. Top clack represent. Okay, so I actually, for those maybe listening from the board that might not know too well, I drink a lot. Not necessarily.
That's an understatement.
Nothing wrong with that.
That's quantity, although I also drink a lot, quantity wise. But I like to drink a lot of whiskeys, a lot of decent whiskeys and decent beers. My absolute favorite whiskey right now that I prefer to drink the most of is probably Old Forester 1870 or Old Forester 1892, I think is what it's called. 1892, 1893. I think those are both super duper good values. It's like roughly $40-ish a bottle before taxes. In Washington, we have outrageously silly liquor taxes, like 30%. So it winds up being like a $50, $55 bottle for me. But normally it's roughly closer to a $40 bottle. And Old Forester, awesome whiskey. I like that a lot. I also like Templeton Rye, even the 4-year, which is about $32, is also really, really, really nice. As far as beer goes, I'm down. I like to support my local breweries, and we have one in Washington called Bale Breaker. They have an IPA, which is my favorite genre, hot butter. I think that beer is absolutely perfection. There you go for that. We have a question by Baka Gaske. Say, favorite switch for gaming and or typing? So obviously this is a pretty loaded question.
Holy pandas.
I think probably all similar or exactly the same answers. So I will start. If anyone has and say it doesn't matter. You use whatever you like the best. It doesn't matter if you're gaming. It doesn't matter if you're typing. Or doing some other weird, obscure thing that isn't those two things. What works for you is the best switch, and I don't really discriminate against any switches for that reason. If I had a gun to my head, I had to pick one that I liked best for gaming and one that I liked best for typing. I would say for typing, I don't really care because it doesn't matter. And for gaming, I would probably not use Topra because I don't really like it for my particular gaming style. I float switches a lot, which means I have some of them pressed part way, not pressing them at all sometimes. And with Topra, it's a little bit harder to do because Topra has such a force that if you part way, like. Yeah.
Brian, you're cutting out in and out, by the way.
Am I?
Yeah, a little bit.
Darn.
But I think we got the general gist of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, move on. Kevin, favorite switches for gaming and/or typing?
Lubed, purple slider, hypersphere Topra, or vintage black 60 gram. But those.
Are you much of a gamer too with those switches, or just typing?
I was Masters League for like 5 seasons in StarCraft.
Baller.
Wow.
Kevin,
Kevin,
baller.
flexing hard as gaming nerds.
When the Masters League was only like 1% of the total, even though it was supposed to be like way more than that. So I had to play like way more than I wanted to get Masters League. But yeah, yeah, not that much anymore. But I still really like those two switches. Topra's really good. Topra's such a refined switch compared to mechanical switches.
Were you all about that 6-pool build?
I played Protoss and I like rushed every single every game like every game.
Nice.
And it worked because I got to Masters like 5 times.
Well, I got some comments coming from our side. So going back to the alcohol thing, Uncle Val's Gin apparently is very good, and Alberta Premium Dark Horse Rye, supposedly. So what has been suggested by September Ghosts. And then M47 has a question, which I think is actually a really interesting one, which is, what do you think is the best way for a new member of the keyboard community to contribute to the community?
Wow.
That is a great question.
This guy is
question.
Yeah,
That's
this guy is
awesome.
coming up with a few good questions, I think. All right, who's gonna start this one out?
I'm gonna start with that.
Don's
Go
gonna
for
start
it,
it out.
Don.
Yeah, and Huey's kind of put me in that by saying be involved. What I mean by that is, if you're new, don't be afraid to ask, right? Don't be afraid to ask questions you don't know about, and don't be afraid to share things that you've just learnt. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people will often be like, oh, I don't want to say this because it's like probably obvious or common knowledge. It's not, because if you've had to ask it and learn it at some point in time, someone new who may have joined just after you might end up wondering the same question, but not having the, I suppose, guts to ask because they're new in the community. So don't be afraid to share. And because everybody else is simply just going to go, yep, exactly. Or they'll expand on it and give more information on whatever it is. So I would say they would be my top 2 things to do as a new community member.
Most definitely. Along the same vein as Don, one thing that I did when I was new to the community, just because I'm used to doing this for hobbies, I was a PC enthusiast before, and I kind of carried over a little bit of that with me to the mechanical keyboard community. I was really aggressive in asking people questions that were smarter than me. So I would find people that knew like substantially more than me, and I would just pester them like all day long. And I would ask them stuff, and like usually they'd be nice enough to respond, and I would just take notes. And I'd be like, okay, give me this information, give me that information, and I would just build up like an overall kind of knowledge base. Because when I came into the keyboard community, like most people, I didn't know anything. Like I came from the PC community where I was really smart, and like I helped a lot of people, and like I knew a lot of stuff. And then I was like, keyboards, what is all this? Like, I don't know what all these switches are, or like what all this stuff is.
You mean everyone doesn't use Razer and Corsair every day?
Exactly. I was like, yeah, exactly. Because I had a Cooler Master Quickfire TKL with MX Blacks, and that was like my entry mechanical keyboard. And I was like, what do I do here? And like I would browse RMK a lot. Like I would look at all these pictures and read all these posts and gain information. And then like there'd be specific people that would comment more than others, and they would at least appear more knowledgeable. And so, I'd kind of follow them around, almost stalk them, and I'd be like, okay, this person's saying this. It's probably right. They seem pretty reputable. And then, like, whenever I'd have like a more in-depth question, I would PM them, and I would be like, hey, like, can you like answer this for me? Like, what are your thoughts on this and that? and usually they'd be nice enough to respond. They'd be like, okay, so here's this and this and this, and I learned a lot that way, like a lot. Like I gained a lot of mechanical keyboard knowledge over the course of like a month or less, just because I was really persistent in like hassling these like really experienced active members.
You know, Brian, to expand on that, for a lot of people who join now, they actually have a really big advantage, which is the proliferation of Discords and Slacks.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
So many communities you can join, and you can just ask the public forum, and you get basically an instant answer. You know, whether it's the main RMK Discord, our Discord, the Slack for this, the Slack for that, the Discord for this, Discord for that. There's a lot of places where you can ask people now, including Reddit, including Geekhack, including Desk Authority. So, like I said, like Don and Brian are saying, get involved, ask people, learn. Learning is the biggest thing you can do to really contribute to community and pass on that knowledge. Like Don said, if you had to learn it, if you had to ask about it, someone else is going to have to do that when they join. And the easier it is for people to learn, join, and get involved, the bigger our community can grow in a more positive, influential way.
Be right back.
You do you, boo. How do you, Kevin? Do you have any other tips about getting involved?
Create content. Be a content creator. Yeah, that's a good one.
And it doesn't have to be like super crazy content. A lot of people, Brian still does it, but like Brian and I, we both started out doing just text reviews, self posts on RMK saying, hey, like my first review I think was like an FC660C. I was like, hey, I got this keyboard, and here's like 8 paragraphs about what I think about it and the different factors. That's all I started with, and that's for a lot of people really informative. So learn, share, and if you can or are willing to, create.
I mean, it's so easy to do YouTube these days, or Twitch, for example. Like when I started our YouTube channel, my first review was a Switch tester, right? On a 720p webcam, which now is the baby cam. But like, I looked back at it the other day while I was cleaning up my my OBS folder, and I saw it, and I was like, blowing it up on my 2K monitor, because when I first started, I had a normal 1080p. It was so horrible.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But you know, we're a year down the track now, and I've done over 100 videos, and you know, we've got over 1,000 subscribers, and it's slowly growing. And all it takes is for one person to come along, see a video, see a review, see a build stream or whatever, and they have to write one comment which was, this helped me. That makes it all worthwhile. You know, I did my Gherkin build months ago, and I get random comments like, I've saved this video because I've just bought a Gherkin and I'm going to reference this. That makes me so happy to get that kind of feedback, because it means my content is helping somebody whenever that comes along, you know? So you could be that guy too.
It's funny you mentioned that. My first review was on funny enough, we mentioned earlier, a Magic 468. It was that or one of my other earlier keyboards. No, it was a different keyboard. Maybe it was like my Compact SQ or something. But my first like 10 reviews were all shot with an iPhone to record the video. And it wasn't like one of the nice iPhones we have today, you know. It was like an iPhone 5 or iPhone 4 at the time. So it was really old, really kind of grainy footage, and it wasn't great. I would record all the B-roll. I'd use a really, really cheapy microphone to record the voiceover, and those were my first reviews. But it was kind of like what Don said. Some people found them helpful, and to some degree, because of how I do my reviews, entertaining. Even though I kind of get my own entertainment. I think one of the earliest comments I got was I reviewed a trackball, and someone said, I like this review, but because of the jokes you use, I can't show this to my grandma, who I wanted to recommend this trackball to. I'm like,
that's awesome.
Whoa. That's my phone.
But yeah, learn, share, if you can, create. That's what helps keep communities really going. I mean, Don and Kevin are doing awesome job. You guys are doing an amazing job with the board, by the way.
Yeah.
Ryan, we need to step up our game, man. We need to step it up.
See,
You know.
what everyone needs to do is, I mean, ideally, what you do is you learn as much as you can, as fast as you can. That way, you can help all the new coming people, because obviously our community is growing at a pretty exponential rate.
1100% in the last 3 years.
Yeah, which is insane. So, you know, be the kind of people that like you want to look up to and you want help from. And that way other people, newer members, can look up to you and get help from you.
Be the change you want to see in the community.
And also, you know, no plugs at all, but you know, you could link them to videos from Top Clack, and you could link them to the boardpodcast.com, and you know, they'll probably gain a lot of knowledge through obviously those two sources, and all will be good in the world. Anyways, getting back to some of these questions so we can catch up a little bit.
Yeah, what's up?
Earlier, Bug Whisperer asks, I'm planning on getting a real force this year, and am I going to hate myself for not getting in on the Norba force? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So actually, I have something to say about this. So when we talked with Ryan on our episode for his episode of Talk Clack, he brought up that, you know, a lot of people were asking, will he bring back the Norba Touch? And he's like, no, because there's no longer any more keyboards that Cooler Master produces that fits the Norba Touch, which makes sense. So how does that relate to the Norba Force? That relates to the Norba Force because Real Force is slowly going to be phasing out all their traditional designs of the Real Force 87U in favor of the new cases that they've started to manufacture for both the full size, like the Real Force RGB, and they also have the other variants in Japan for full size, and tease that same look, design, and layout for the new 87U, and we don't know if all the parts will still be compatible. So if they're not, it is unconfirmed whether Ryan Norbauer will be, you know, changing his design in a round 2 to accommodate it, or picking up a different project like possibly the FC660C. It's just completely unconfirmed because Real Force is changing. So my advice, honestly, would be to pick it up now, because there's a guarantee you will get it, as opposed to waiting without a guarantee that round 2 will or will not happen, based off of why he's not running round 3 of the Norba Touch.
There is this thing called the fear of missing out, which forces you to impulsively buy things.
That
so
too.
we are like exactly endorsing that right now. We all suffer from it, definitely on this podcast. So
we've all been there. We've all been there. The short answer is it's an awesome case. It's amazing. It's not cheap. It's not for the faint of wallet, but it is freaking incredible. If you can afford it and it's not a big deal at all, and you think you're gonna regret it, then just buy it. The longer answer is watch the second most recent at this point episode of Top Clack with Ryan Norbauer. You can check it out on youtube.com/c/topclack. Really easy to find. It's just 2 episodes back. It'll be 3 after this one. But yeah, we had Norbauer on. He's an awesome guy. He talks a lot about his products and his life, and you know, maybe that'll give you a life if you do or do not want a Norba Force, but you do. It's a really cool product. It's really, really cool.
The only other option left after that is to pay scalping fees on Mech Market. So
yeah, if you wait, you're gonna regret it, because then when you want one later, you're gonna be spending like $100 or $200 more than you would have originally. I mean, and you can still pick up one of the anodized versions, which Norbauer even stated were his favorite versions. He actually prefers the black and silver anode over all the powder coating options. So, you know, and that's only like what, $260 or something. Like, it's high, but it's not terribly high. It's fair enough. The powder coating options are a little bit more expensive for lots of reasons that he discusses in the show, which totally makes sense. So
it's 6.5 magic touches. I measure my keyboards.
Is that our new measuring stick? You know, like how bad was the Dictator's how many Hitlers, but now it's how many magic touches?
How many mechanical keyboards can you actually buy for this product?
Instead of the Big Mac index that we use for countries.
Yeah.
Actually, what kind of index should we be using? I mean, are we talking about like should it be a Gatoron index? Should it be a Zelio index? Should it be?
I mean, I feel like Zelios. Like if we use that as an index, that'd be like the Great Britain pound of the world of the keyboard world, where like that's like the high currency, where like in America we'd be using like the kale of currencies. The novel key kales of currencies.
And then Baby brings up some good points.
Yeah, she's really on topic.
Totally agree.
Anyways, moving on a little bit from this. That wasn't too in-depth of a question. HGoel89 asks, what do you think about the new silent switches from KBD fans? So he's talking about the Alias switches that we talked about on the most recent episode of Top Clack. I don't know yet because I don't have any. I'm going to ask them for some review samples, probably enough for a full board. They probably won't reply to me because they didn't last time, so we'll see what happens. But I'm going to hopefully get some samples in, and then I can have an opinion. But strictly from the page with information, I would say they're very similar, if not identical, to Silent Gatoron Browns, which is a little less interesting, maybe not quite nearly as interesting as the new Xylence from Zeal, but we'll see. Hopefully more information coming. Don't really have a whole lot else to say on that.
We talked about it on the board too. Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to the Zeals, like in all things considered, but I would like to get some samples to try if that could happen. We went along a similar route, so hopefully they don't reply.
They actually show the stems and the tactility legs and how much curve it has versus an MX Clear, and strictly based on the look, the MX Clear has a much more prominent tactility than the Alias. So, just judging by that picture, I would say maybe not as impressive yet, but
yeah, it could definitely be less tactile. Definitely.
Yeah, and that doesn't necessarily be a bad switch, but we'll see what happens. Maybe hopefully we can get a better opinion on it. At Talkback, we try to be as unbiased as we can. I like to try new things. New things are kind of what makes the community interesting.
New things are cool.
If we can get some and we can actually use them on a full board, then that'll give us a much better perspective on how good a product is or is not.
Come on, KBD fans, up that marketing budget and get some switches for myself, Brian, Don, and Kevin, please.
They have the marketing budget. That's not the problem. Last time I tried to contact them for something, they ignored me. So I was like, whatever. That's how it goes. Anyways, a little bit ago, Omega Supreme asks, when did you get into this hobby and what made you get into it? A specific keyboard, key set, etc.?
I will answer that after I return from the restroom.
All right, Kevin, we're starting off with you. What got you into the hobby? And we can kind of streamline this a little bit and try to make it a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
Questions to get to.
I bought a mechanical keyboard to play StarCraft with, and then Snack Keys got me all hyped for everything else, and then it was all downhill from there.
What keyboard was it? What actually made you make the connection between just it being a keyboard and you wanting to join the community?
I bought the FC660M. Good keyboard. Strongly recommended for beginners.
Yep. Leopold does some nice stuff. Fair enough. What about you, Don? What brought you into this?
My team lead at work sat on the other side of the cubicle, and he had a DAS 4 with MX Blues, and I was having problems typing on the Dell Rubber Dome really thin client type keyboards because I was double tapping and chaining caps lock. Well, not caps lock, but capital letters like at the start of my sentences. So I was working as a tech writer. So I figured that I would try a mechanical keyboard to improve my typing accuracy, if anything else. I bought one with my tax return, and so I could also claim it on tax because it's for work purposes. But I lurked in RMK for like 3 months before I bought one. And I pretty much just hung around ever since. So, yeah. And now I'm indoctrinating her because she's
because you're a good parent. And nothing else.
She loves playing with the Switch tester and you know she's got the Leopold with her right now. She gets upset sometimes when I take keyboards away from her after I've given them to her to play. So.
Rightly so, yeah.
All
right,
yeah.
What got you into the keyboard? Anything specific in the keyboard community? I mean,
I first learned about the community right before I entered college. I was like, I started learning about like Model M's and old keyboards. So I'm like, I found this community of people who just like use like Model M's and Model F's. I'm like, oh, these are really cool old style clicky keyboards. I wish I could get some of these. Then I learned like from that mechanical keyboards were the thing, and because it was really early in the community, at the time the closest modern thing was MX Blue switches, and I was like, oh, well, I just gotta get a keyboard with the MX Blue switches then. So it wasn't until later in my freshman year of college I got a Quickfire Rapid with MX Blues as my first board, and yeah, that's how I got in, and ooh-wee, that was amazing at the time.
All right. For me, it was equally mundane. I was in the PC enthusiast community. I built computers. I fixed computers. I learned a lot really fast. It was a great time. I love computers. I still do. And in 2012, I think it was, I bought a Cooler Master Quickfire Rapid. A very nice starting TKL. I think I paid like $70 for it. I bought it brand new. It had MX Blacks in it, Cherry MX Blacks. And I was like, well, this is kind of interesting. And then like a year went by, and I was like, huh, I wonder what other Switches feel like. So I started going online, and I was like, Cherry MX Switches. And I found that there were, MX Reds and Blacks and Blues and Browns, etc. And I was like, well, I wonder like if the feeling really differentiates like that much. Like it's a keyboard, right? Like it can't be that different. And so I picked up the Corsair K65 RGB had like just launched, and I found a really, really good price on a used one on r/hardware swap. And I was like, oh, I might as well pick it up. It's like $90 or something like that. So like I got it, and it had MX Reds, and I was like, wow, I don't like this. So I sold that, and the money that I got from selling that, I used to pick up a Poker 2 with MX Browns. The Poker 2 was still a little bit newer at that point. And I got that with MX Browns, and it blew my mind. It absolutely blew me away. I was like, how could a keyboard be this small? How do the keycaps feel so good? Like, the switches are like interesting. There's like a little bump there. Like, what's going on? And so I used the Poker 2 with MX Browns for a little while, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It blew me away. But it got me thinking, like, it feels and looks so different than my Quickfire Rapid with MX Blacks. Is this common for so many keyboards to feel and look this different? And that it was just all downhill from there. All downhill from there. That after that, it was just I teleported by it. I did that probably 25 times on Neck Market until I got a little bit more knowledgeable about stuff. And yeah, just all downhill. Is that? Did we go through everyone there?
Yeah, we did on that one. Yeah.
Keep over the questions. We still have a couple more.
All
right.
What are you doing?
Let's wrap them up real quick.
Yeah.
We're going late on time.
Yeah, which is, I mean, for me it's okay. I don't know about you guys, but get to that. Your Tracker asks predictions for the biggest trends / keyboard tech for the next year or beyond. Interesting question. Biggest keyboard trends, keyboard tech in the next year or more. What are you thinking, Huey?
Biggest keyboard trends. Kale Hot Swap.
I was hoping not to get picked first.
Kale hot swap.
You got the hot potato, Huey.
Hot potato, baby. That's how we do Top Clack. Kale Hot Swap. That's a good answer. That's a really good answer, actually. I think Kale Hot Swap will probably start to be more of a thing in 2018. Kevin?
Dude, I didn't think about this.
Now that you had 4 seconds to think about it.
I was memeing. That was 4 seconds. I used those. I used those well to meme. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would like to see heavier keyboards and more acrylic plates.
Okay.
Like nobody else wants that, but I want that.
I'm okay with that. Like I'm a big fan of acrylic and polycarbonate. I don't think metal has to be the one and only keyboard material. Most definitely.
Heavy keyboards would be cool though. So like anything like 8+ pounds would be a nice little option.
All right. Trying to quickly move on a little bit so we can catch up a little bit. Don, what about you?
I'd like to see more affordable artisans from new people coming in. We've definitely seen it from a lot of people starting to make artisans that they don't have to be horrendously expensive, and especially because now the Synth 2.1 has come out and was available on Tech Keys, for example. It's just opening up that market more and more and more. I started doing artisans like two years ago, and then there was very few people outside the big names, established names, and now there's a plethora, and every week you'll see somebody going, hey, here's my first attempt at artisan. And I want to just see that happening because it means there's a greater likelihood that someone's going to make something that you like that you can get at an affordable price, or you'll be like, I can now make my own stuff that I like at an affordable price.
Well, I have to do this, guys. I have to. Katzenkinder, I love you. Please make more purple keys. I need more.
That's classic, man. Is he even around anymore?
I don't know.
I don't think he is really in tune with the community anymore.
That Zazi's gone. I already lost hope on Zazie.
He's a nice guy though. He's a really nice guy.
And yourself, Brian?
Man. Honestly, I'm not even sure. Biggest trends. I'd like to see more focus on switches and switch modification, I think. Because to me, switches have always been the most important and interesting things in mechanical keyboards because they give generally the biggest difference in feel and sound and experience overall. So I'd love to see more innovations like Halo switches, Hako switches. Even though Panda switches didn't turn out amazing, I'm still I love the fact that they actually took on the project. Zizbin27, shout out to you guys, because Panda switches, even though they didn't turn out perfect, they were still a very cool addition nonetheless. Yes. And I'd like to see more of stuff like that, like community designed switches, vendor designed switches, things that really alter how we see keyboards. I mean, you can only make so many GMK key sets in high profile aluminum cases, in brass plates, before it's not really that interesting anymore. But switches have so much more potential, and the way switches feel can have so much more potential. And to me, that's really interesting. And I'd really like to see more of that, because that's what interests me in the community.
Cool.
Yes. All right.
I just had a thought while you were talking about that on what I would love to see on a new Switch design. And that's being able to have removable housings that do not require switch openers.
Okay. So similar to the Kale hot swaps, or just having hold tights in general, or are you?
No. I'm talking about to be able to open a switch to do the modifications without having to bend the outer feet to get the top of the housing off.
Okay.
I'm thinking along the lines of tiny ass watch grub screws or something, where you could have a plate that does not have to have cutouts for switch top removal. That would mean you could just take a switch top off and put it back on and not have to mess with tools and this, that, and the other. That is what I would love to see coming forward somehow.
Okay, so kind of an overview as just like easier switch modification in general.
Yeah.
Easier swapping of springs, easier lubing, easier silencing, stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah, because like I built this Nyquist, right? And I managed to do 6 switches to lube them before I just got the shits and I just went, screw it, I'm going to build this because it was taking too long for me to get the damn switch tops open. And if I had the means to just go, yep, pop these open like in no time flat, I would have done all 30. That's, yeah.
I need to hear the secrets then. Because it takes me less than a second to open an MX switch. So I have some things to teach you, Don.
Some technique. You can get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that was, I mean, only the second time that I've actually attempted to lube switches in my life. And I mean, there's the quick and dirty way that doesn't even involve opening switches.
Don't talk about that. That's sacrilege. Don't talk about that. You don't talk about that.
I didn't even know that existed.
Good. Don't even, just completely forget about it. Don't even.
So yeah, I'm sure if I did more, I probably would get better practice, but it shouldn't have to be that hard though. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. We're gonna lightning round some questions because that's usually what we do when we're running out of time. So, HGoel89 asks, I live in India. Not many people here know about mechs. How do I get people into mechs? Meetup is the best way to get budding enthusiasts into mechs.
Viral.
Hands down. Before that, show them RMK. Show them RMK, you know, if they're PC enthusiasts, whatever, show them RMK, and they'll be like, that's cool, or they won't. Pretty simple. And if they are, be like, hey, let's do a meetup. You know, it doesn't matter if it's, 3 people, 5 people, 100 people. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just do the meetup. Meetups are always awesome.
You need a viral Bollywood video on mechanical keyboards.
Please. Yes,
please.
Please. Actually, wait. That might have been our last question. Nobody tagged us after that question. Holy crap. Do we have any more questions on your end, Don?
Someone had asked, will affordable 3D printing allow making custom caps more of a thing soon? And can you copyright keyboard layouts? Now, I already answered them in chat in that I don't think it's really feasible to copyright. I mean, you can trademark layouts if there's a brand and association that you created and you have 100% ownership of it. But copyright's really hard because you've got to demonstrate that you were the first ever to create it and nobody else had ever, put it down somewhere. And then as for the 3D printing thing, for fused deposition, like the plastic layer type, I personally don't believe it's a feasible way to manufacture a lot of caps at the right quality without a lot of pain in the ass process. It's just faster to sculpt and cast because you can make like 25 molds and then cast all 25 at once. Whereas with the liquid resin type printers, you can definitely get the quality and detail much better. But of course, it's still faster to make one on a printer and then cast those suckers rather than print them every time. So not yet.
All right.
Yeah. Now, somebody did ask a non-keyboard related question about if cryptocurrency bubble or cryptocurrencies in general is something that is still going to be a thing, or if it's going to go pop and everyone's going to be very poor very soon.
Well, for someone that's been in the PC community for a while, I don't know if you guys remember, but back in 2014, the same thing happened. Cryptocurrency became huge. Bitcoin, Litecoin, Dogecoin, they were massive in 2014, and then it all went crashing down. So you're kind of flipping coins here at this point, I feel like. But, a lot of people are super into it, and they're really putting their faith and money behind it. I don't know, man. It's questionable.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a ton of information on it after that, but that's about what I have.
I like that answer. Lightning round, let's go.
Hell yeah. Nice and creamy. It's an honor to have you in the chat, by the way. Thank you for joining us. He asked best innovation / design of 2017. So you might have tuned in a little bit late, but that was actually one of our discussion points a little bit earlier on that you can check out in the video later on YouTube. So we talk a little bit about what we think our best and worst innovations and designs of 2017 are. So you can definitely check those out there. So we don't have to repeat them at the moment.
Holy pandas.
And we can move on. Holy pandas were one of them. Gert Tractor forgets to tag us, but he asked a question. By the way, if you want to ask questions, you gotta tag us, man. Like that's by far the fastest way because we see it in the chat way faster. So at Top Clack, then your question. Anyways, I'm gonna answer this anyways because it's pretty close to the end anyways. So Gert Tractor asks, does lube on the Switch friction points ever wear out over a long time? Like, does it run off the plastic, leave them stock again? Technically, yes. Lube will always wear out over time. It's just a matter of how much time it takes. Krellbit, a popular Switch modifier in the community, likes to argue that if you use a blend of lubes, like for instance, like thin or thick blends from Tech Keys or Zeal, etc., they will separate over a year or 2 or 3, and that causes some it causes some issues that aren't quite as satisfactory. But it's totally up to you. If you feel like relubing a keyboard every couple of years, then maybe it might not bother you. But I wouldn't worry too much about that. I would never not lube a keyboard because of that, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I think we are completely caught up on questions our end. Do you have anything else on your end, Don, or should we start?
Somebody asked me, do I have a cable draped over my head? And the answer is yes. And the reason is because that it's going over me, so it's not going across the back of my neck. But and then one last real question is, what is the worst thing about mechanical keyboards? I would say the worst thing about mechanical keyboards is having to defend why I use one at work. That would be the worst thing.
Interesting question. Worst thing about... So we've talked about it in the past on Top Clack before. In my opinion, still don't really change that much. But I think the best and the worst thing about mechanical keyboards is the community. I think the community is simultaneously both the best and the worst thing.
Yep, we've talked about this at length.
Yeah, we've gone into detail about it before, but so I'm not going to talk too much about it now. But yeah.
Brian's the worst thing.
I am easily the worst thing in mechanical keyboards by far. Like it's not even a question. I
actually have a passionate answer about this. I wish that artisans could just be like, I wish there was enough for everybody to have every artisan because I love artisans.
Yeah, and not to take too much time here, but artisans are becoming more accessible depending on what you want. Yes, it's still not the easiest thing in the world to find Brobots or Clacks or some KK stuff, etc. But if if general term artisans are all you're looking for, it's not hard to find one. You can pay $10 or $15 or $20 and get an artisan in a second. That's it. It's so easy. So it really depends on what you're looking for, and obviously what designs interest you. And as a new member of the community, you shouldn't necessarily be swayed by what is more rare or more in demand, sought after. You should get what you like. Sometimes that might be more expensive or hard to find, and sometimes maybe not so much. So never know until you come.
Kevin, and this may be part of the worst of the keyboard. What's the worst thing about mechanical keyboards? September Ghost says that I would like to say your singing made my wife's day. Great job, guys.
Yes, you did it.
Wait, Kevin saying? Did I miss something?
Our Christmas special, Kevin and I sang Christmas carols a cappella. Well, actually,
my God, I know what I'm doing later.
Nice.
I'm definitely listening to that tonight. Holy crap!
7 a.m. too.
at 2 a.m. Oh, it's like the worst possible time that you could be singing Christmas carols.
That's all. Still in the lightning round. H2L89 asks, RO59 lube. Have you tried it? How do you find it compared to a personal Crytox mix? I have not tried it. I asked for some samples for Top Clack of that lube, and I was told yes. So when I will get it, I have no idea. But eventually, I will get that. Supposedly.
Yes.
Yes. Nice and Creamy clearly wants me to have a keyboard built by him for me. He says, I think you have to use so much thin lube. No, man. Stop to state this right now. So the difference between thin lube and thick lube, there's a lot of differences. I don't like to feel my lube. I don't like to feel it, which is why I don't like. I'm not. Okay, so I'm not calling out Nice and Creamy in the chat because other people have talked about this before in the past. But I don't like to feel my lube. I know the differences between thin lube and thick lube. I've been lubing for years now. I've tried a lot of different lubes on a lot of different. I know what I like. I know what I dislike. I don't like the feeling of thick lube. I like being able to feel the lube itself because then it takes away from how the because it can cover up as many imperfections as thick lube, but it stays more it feels, which is why I prefer thin lube. But that's obviously personal preference. Some people like thick lube and they like the way it makes their switches, alters their switches, and that's totally fine. Totally fine. But I will argue till the ends of the world that you're not necessarily right just because you think you are.
That's fair.
Said every philosopher out there.
But Nice and Creamy does say you haven't had me lube your switches, which is also true. That's also true. Maybe the thousands of switches I lube mean nothing, and maybe Nice and Creamy is just worlds and monumentally better than the lubing switches. I will gladly have you lube switches for me if I can try them. But I might be more experienced than you think, and hopefully you're not biting off more than you can chew here.
Well, thank you for tuning in to the Gourd Podcast, the podcast about vegetation.
and the Gourd Podcast, the podcast about musical instruments.
as well as the Ford Podcast about mountains in Norway.
As well as the Ford Podcast about cars.
And don't forget about the Nord Podcast, all about the North
race.
Those Nords. Nord Master Race, baby. Nord Master.
It's about the Nords in Elder Scrolls. Okay, get it right.
Oh, Nice and Creamy and I are gonna have to exchange switches by the looks of it. Fantastic. We'll be in touch.
Fantastic.
Gonna work on that, yeah. Anyways, but we've gone really long here actually, so we're gonna start to wrap up here. Obviously, we definitely appreciate everyone watching. We haven't had a huge audience because A, Christmas, and B, totally kind of last minute stream that we weren't expecting. So we appreciate any of you guys that showed up. Thank you so much. We definitely appreciate it. If you like this kind of content and you're deciding that you're a fan of Top Clack, you can maybe check out the stream. You can join our Discord there. Huey and I are very active in our Discord. We have a lot of really awesome people there, like seriously awesome people. You can check that out. We do giveaways there pretty frequently, honestly. So if you like winning new shit and you like us, then join. If you just like winning new shit and you don't like us, don't join. Just don't. I don't want you there. All you there is to win cool shit. So you have to like this kind of content and like winning cool shit, then you can join. Prerequisite, of course. So there you go. Join that. You can go ahead and subscribe to us on this Twitch channel if you like. You can go do that on the top right. If you have Amazon Prime, that means you automatically have free Twitch Prime, which helps us out a lot, and it costs you literally $0 because chances are you're probably not using it already. So you can go ahead and subscribe for free up there, or if we happen to be your favorite Twitch channel, you can subscribe there anyways. Also, if you like our awesome guests, Don and Kevin, they have their own podcast called The Board, a really awesome show where they're...
It's cutting out.
Sorry, we can't hear you, Brian, because someone else's audio has loud motors in the background.
I heard
my daughter dragging her new chair around.
Ah, yeah.
Clearly I was not successful. Anyways, explaining it. Don, why don't you talk about the board and what you guys have to offer real quick?
Yeah, we try and do a podcast every week, where Kevin and I and sometimes guests get to talk about whatever happens during the week, what we found interesting, any sort of public service announcements and things like that, as well as helping people in the community promote meetups, new products, and stuff like that. We've got a YouTube channel, which you can find us by just searching the Board Podcast on YouTube. We'd love and appreciate, of course, your likes, shares, and subscribe. We do giveaways on our show. Stuff that's provided to us by our sponsors, as well as stuff that if we have the funds to get involved with. And also we have a Patreon page as well if you would like to give us your love and support. Now, we don't have fancy subscriptions and things like that, but we do offer shout outs and other promos, things like that. We haven't quite hammered it out yet, but we're also looking at a place for people to come and hang out too. Most likely it's going to be on Slack as opposed to Discord, simply because it's a little bit easier to manage since Kevin and I are in different time zones. And so that's yet to be announced, but look forward to that happening very, very soon. And the best part is, coming up to the new year, the position for #1 fan is up for grabs because the 2017 one expires in a few days. So if you want that position and on all the benefits that don't come with it.
Nice.
Okay,
I love the honesty, man. I love the honesty.
Well, the only thing that Outrage Pudding got this year was actually a the board #1 fan ID card. So, that's better than nothing, right? Better than a poke an eye with a blunt stick. So,
yeah.
It's always time to go around for 2018. So thank you, of course, very much to Brian and Huey for having us on their Twitch stream. It's a lot of work and effort to keep the show running. And I would like to say, thank you very much for Kevin actually taking time out this evening, because he's had family commitments for Christmas. And, obviously with Grandma celebrating, her 92nd Christmas, to take it out to spend time and chat with us as well. So, yeah, love you guys heaps.
Awesome, man. Yeah, you guys are fantastic. Top Flag has always supported the board. You guys have always supported us, and it's very humbling, because even though we're theoretically competition for each other, we still get along. What matters is teaching new people cool things and bringing this kind of content to the community. So very appreciative of what the board does, and we'll try to keep it up. Synthesizer, thank you so much for all those cheers. Holy crap, man!
Yeah,
you're a nice guy, man.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
I don't think competition really is a thing in mechanical keyboards, because it doesn't cost anybody, it doesn't hurt anybody to hit that like button, to hit that subscribe button, right? The more exposure we both get, the better it is for the community to grow. And like on our channel, I am happy to shout out all the time other people, like we're talking about Tay Keyboards, Mech Merlin, Chokan, Karasan,
many.
One Up, right? There's so many out there, and you'll see them all listed on our YouTube channel, simply because if I know that there's a channel, or if you have a channel, let me know. I'll hit subscribe, so someone sees ours, they'll see yours as well. Simple as that.
It's all about networking. We're all friends here. We gotta share the word when we can. And that's just how it goes, man. This kind of content is kind of rare, honestly, in this community. So we try to do a good job as much as we can. Anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us, Don and Kevin. We appreciate it. Huey, take us out.
With what, the intro? Outro?
If that's what you want to end with, I don't know. Totally up to you, man. Yep. Enjoy the stream, not me.
Everyone, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to the board. We'll catch you on Thursday on our normal episode. Until then, everyone, please stay classy, stay wonderful. We love you all. Hope you have a wonderful holiday season. And we'll see you right before the New Year's. So we'll see you then.